Thanks for your patience. We're about 5 minutes late. This is the Board of Education of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. We're in a called meeting order at 1906. This is our May 7th regular meeting of the Board of Education. And just so everyone knows, these meetings are televised. There's cameras in the room, so your image, visual, audio will be captured. We're going to start this evening with the flag salute. And so we'd like to ask Ms. Vicki Scudder to come on up, and she's with Livermore High School, if you guys didn't know. And she's going to introduce them.
Good evening, and you know, you just heard, this is Vicki Scudder, the principal of Livermore High School. Good evening, and it is my pleasure to introduce Sydney Olson and Isabella Scanoni. They are members of our award-winning stunt team, and they have been doing very, very well if you've been following them at all. This is 3 seasons, and they moved out of the East Bay Athletic League and to the NCS Finals. So I'm very proud of them, and they're here tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Way to go, Cowboys.
No closed actions, no? Okay, just a little bit of housekeeping. I know we got a full house, so just in case we were to have to exit, I would ask everyone to go through the exits. There's a couple in the back corners. There's one on the side, one the way most of you probably came in. If during the meeting anyone needs to use the restroom facilities, they're right across the lobby, right over there, and you're not interrupting the meeting to get up and kind of come and go as you please. The agenda is on the side, and sometimes I'll kind of reference it for those of you trying to follow along. Right now we're at number 3B. This is we're coming in from closed session. This is our open session. So all actions approved in the closed session must be reported out here in their open session. And with that, I'd ask our clerk, Mr. Rogie, if we took any action.
Mr. President, we have no actions.
Thank you. Just a little bit on the meeting procedures. This is the regular meeting of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Our primary focus here is on the education of students within this district. So during the meeting, you, our members of the public, will have the opportunity to voice your concerns, share your voice and opinions on ideas and things regarding the matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During our discussion of each agenda item, there'll be a time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If it's not on the agenda, we ask that you fill out a speaker card. It's a tan card. They're in the lobby, and just hand it to one of the young ladies over here under the screen right there. There they are, and then it'll kind of work its way up here. I'll call you up in no particular order during the time of communication from the public. If you wish to address an item that is on the agenda, please fill out a blue speaker card, same procedure. And again, when you come up, the meetings are televised. We want to catch your audio, and so the people in the center aisle, you're going to be on camera most of the meeting. And when you come up, if you were to speak at the podium here, there's a little button right in the middle of that black base, and make sure that the green light's on. Even though we can all hear you, we want the audience to be able to hear you. The meetings are on Channel 28. Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 9 a.m. With all that, I'd ask, we're going to go section 4, and this is our changes to the agenda. So we'll introduce our superintendent, Dr. Kelly Bowers, and ask you if there's any changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually received one piece of correspondence after the agenda was published, but prior to 4 p.m. the day before the meeting per policy. So this piece of correspondence will be included in our clerk's summary, and it came from the Alameda County Office of Education. And then depending on time, we may end up moving an item forward from discussion action about our safety plans if we don't get to it before 8:30, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We may actually be moving right along.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to go into our recognitions. This is a time when we're able to publicly acknowledge some folks for doing some really good things. And I'd ask our superintendent if you'd introduce our first recognition.
So thank you. This is the most delightful part of our meeting always, and we will invite Mrs. Helen Gladden forward. She is our Assistant Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, and she's coming forward to recognize a very special group of students who come from throughout our district, but have been honored as recipients of the Achievement and Excellence Award from the African American Regional Education Alliance. It's a very big honor. It's a regional award. They already had an official award ceremony, but we wanted to replicate as best we could and celebrate here, so that our board and our community could celebrate with us.
You had just said to push the green pen. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I'm Helen Gladden, the District's Assistant Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. I'm very honored to be here tonight to recognize our students who received academic awards from the African American Regional Educational Alliances, also known as AREA, at their Student Achievement and Excellent Awards ceremony that was held on April 12th at Chabot College in Hayward. This ceremony recognizes students from all over the Bay Area. Assistant Superintendent Mike Biondi will be handing out Rising Star Award certificates from the district in recognition of our award winners. Their commitment to education makes them all rising stars. As I call your name, please come up and receive your certificate. Please remain up here until all names have been called. The board and cabinet members will want to shake your hand. So let's begin. Amory Allen. Susie Beeman. Matthew Bertrand. Rylan Bosky. Olivia Dodge. Christian Epps. Zamaya Gillespie. Brandon Harper. Cadence Johnson. Haley Johnson. Maricela Jones. Honor King. Natnael Leary. Julian Lee.
I'm going to. Yeah.
Byriana Mott.
Could I interject and ask them to kind of make a half circle around the podium, and so that way they're on television?
All the way over.
And all the,
Big horseshoe, okay?
and if the family and friends that wanted to take pictures, so you don't have to take pictures of the backside, feel free to come up. You can stand right behind us. You can get a real good picture from right here.
And we're also having our public relations folks to take pictures as well, but you're welcome to.
Just feel free,
circle
walk right around this way, and you can walk right up behind us and get a real nice picture. And then we'll take a picture outside when you guys are all done. We shake your hand. You can go out in the hallway and take a real nice group shot.
Nubia Pokum. Roya Rashichi. Stephen Shepard. Jonathan Ugorji. Justin York. Berger Boyd. Daryl Calhoun Bishop. Even if the students are here, I just want to read out their names so you all know who really excelled. Brandon Cloud. Joseph Fields, Artasia Finley, Jordan Goodwin, Lavender Harden, Aratunda Akinsola, Blanchard Kenfeck, Amaya Leek, Catherine Lewis, Tyrese Miller, Elbert Rucker, D'Angelo Shepard, and Layla Yassin. So let's all give one more big round of applause.
Nice job.
Hey,
Nice
congratulations.
job. Nice job. Nicely
Congratulations
done.
on your awards.
Keep working hard.
job.
You
Good
look
job.
sharp, man.
Yeah, like that.
Good job. Keep looking.
Congratulations, you guys. Nice job.
Keep doing well.
Good job.
We're good, young man.
Awesome job.
Nicely done.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Nice job.
Congratulations.
Nice job. Congrats. Keep working hard.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
This was the largest group of recognition students that we've had in all the years that I can remember. So really outstanding. This is for a whole region. This is not just Livermore. They've won awards from a regional area, and we have quite an outstanding and exceptionally competitive region. So one more big round of applause for the students.
If you would.
So for our next recognition, we'll invite Mrs. Leslie Williams forward. She is our teacher on special assignment who works with our teacher induction program, the Tri-Valley Teacher Induction Program. She's our coordinator, and she'll be honoring and recognizing our Year 2 teachers in the Tri-Valley Teacher Induction Program. This is a very important milestone, and Dr. Kevin Greer is with her as well.
Helping out.
Oh, very good.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and cabinet members. I'm Leslie Williams, and I am Livermore's induction coordinator for the Tri-Valley Teacher Induction Project. I'm so excited to bring an amazing group of teachers before you this evening. And could I have them come and, oh, did you, come on, people. We went over this. These teachers have been working with an induction coach for the past 2 years and have become the best educators for our students, and also they've earned their California Clear credential.
Nice.
One last special fact about this group is that 25% of these teachers were once interns in our district, and now they have become incredible teachers. I'm going to invite their coaches up so that they can present their teachers with their certificates. So first coach is Heather Bateson. Is that on?
Thank you. Ready?
Yep.
Alma Haksamali.
Stand right there. Start them on.
Eric Gasser. Haley Jeffries. Karen Fletcher. Melissa Giorgio. Michelle Gasky. Han Yu. not here, Bryce Head, Dave Haberman, Gina Hatch, and Tom Cassavant.
Our next coach, Lori Dotson. And Heather had the biggest group this year.
Mary Steely.
Extraordinary.
Don Stevens is not here today. And Celine Yates. Celine Yates. Awesome. And Brianna Newmeyer is also not here.
All right, our coach, Melanie Patterson.
Allison Noble. And Tyler Elising is not here. And Lauren Orth.
Coach Dania Segrist.
Irene Sanchez. Marissa Mark. And Evan Hamilton is not here.
And my teachers, I have Colleen Small. And Libby Zane is not with us tonight. And our coach that coaches in Livermore from Castro Valley is not here. Her two teachers were not able to make it tonight, and they are Liz Prakash and Danny Bacalar.
And I just want to recognize that these teachers, we had a little bit of a time to meet before the meeting started here, and it's really amazing how wide they've come in terms of the colleges and universities that they used to get their teaching credential initially, and then they had the privilege of working with some fabulous coaches, and I want to definitely bring the coaches a little bit forward here for a second. So we want to give a hand to Leslie Williams, who's their lead, Heather Bateson, Lori Dotson, Melanie Patterson, Dania Seacrest, and Dawn, as we heard Dawn out of Castro Valley. So congratulations to you guys all. All right, so I present the Year 2 Rising Stars of the teaching profession at Livermore.
Congrats. Hey, welcome to this work. Congrats. Welcome to the family. Thank you. Welcome. I see that. Welcome. Congratulations. Welcome and congratulations. Hi. Congratulations. Welcome and congratulations. Nice work.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Welcome. Welcome and congratulations. Nicely done. Welcome and congratulations. Nicely done. Welcome and congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome and congratulations. Welcome and congratulations. Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. Good crop. Great work. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Way to go. Way to go. Thank you very much. Great work. Way to go. Good job. That's a big group. We'll give them a sec. Okay, then we can introduce our third.
So for our third recognition, last but certainly not least, we will re-invite Mrs. Vicki Scudder, the very proud principal of Livermore High School, a California Distinguished School, to introduce and honor an extremely devoted member of actually our staff as well as the city of Livermore. We share that rule. A very special person, school resource officer, Jennifer Rios.
Well, good evening, Board President Bueno, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. As you can see, we are here in force, little pun, with the administrative team from Livermore High because honestly, we are a team. And this is a very special evening for us. Actually, I have to mention that Tom Fletcher is the admin in charge at an NCS game this evening, so he is not here, but he is certainly here in spirit. As I said, we are here to honor Jen. Jen has been a member of our team and the SRO at Livermore High School for the last 5 years. She is, of course, our school resource officer, but we know her as teacher, counselor, mentor, broker of community resources, and guide for our students, for our teaching staff, and certainly for the team here tonight. She is, of course, an outstanding police officer, and some of her colleagues are behind me this evening, I believe. And maybe over there taking photos too. So we are well covered. And she is obviously in charge of campus security, our protection in emergency situations, and she is our go-to lady. Each year, students take a survey, and they are asked who of all the people on the campus, including the administrative team, would you go to if you had a problem or you needed to talk something out or you needed a resource? And every single time we give that survey, Jen is right in the top with classroom teachers. She ranks equal with them as #1. And that is such a high compliment to her. She's always in the halls. She's always in the quad. She's always at rallies. She's at dances. She's got some moves. And definitely in the classrooms as a presenter. She is there when the going gets tough, when a solution is needed, or when we just want to meet as a team. We want to strategize, we want to review the week, and we want to plan, develop a course of action, and just have fun. I tried to read this to my husband this evening. I don't normally do that, but I feel very emotional about this because, and I couldn't make it, but I'm doing very well, Jen, so we'll hang in there. She is the best friend that anybody could ever have, and she always has our collective back. We will miss her more than words can express. This has been very difficult, I know, for her, very difficult for us, but we understand that change is good and life moves on, but we will never, never forget her. She has left an indelible mark on the culture of Livermore High School, and our students love her, and she's left an indelible mark in our hearts. We hope, have I got you crying yet? Okay, good. We hope, she said she wouldn't, I said I wouldn't, and here we go. But we truly love her. We hope she won't forget us, that she will still visit us, of course, when she's off duty. And we want her never, ever to forget, and we know she won't, that she will always be a cowboy. We love you. And we do have a special award for her from just us, and flowers, of course, but she might want to open this, and you could all check it out before we walk around. Why is it a surprise?
Oh my goodness.
I have to share. I was so excited when we picked it up that I took a picture of it and I sent it to the whole administrative team, but forgetting, of course, she's on the team.
Before you come around, Officer Rios, I think there might be some others who want to say some things.
Anyone? Wanna say?
I can start before I volunteer, because I guess I'm one of them. So everyone knows that when you're at a comprehensive high school, things are going to happen, and not all of them are going to be calm situations. And one of the saving graces that we've always had is knowing that Officer Rios is there for the great times, but as well for any concerning times relative to safety. So whether it's a crazy person trying to make a threat or something that turns out to be nothing, or a student in distress, her calm demeanor, her true care and love for our kids comes through everything. And I think the best thing is a lot of times right now, and I'm the child of a police officer myself, retired, he's retired, not me, but you know, nowadays there are a lot of people sometimes who can put out in the media negative things about police officers, and I'm sure there are good and bad in every profession, but she's the best of the best. The reason why she's leaving has nothing to do with us. It's a rotation that happens with the police department. In fact, we pitched a fit and got to keep her at least 1 year longer this year. But she gives her life for our community and our students. And even though she's assigned to Livermore High, she also comes on call to any and every other school and even district office if needed. So she has spread herself out to offer support to everyone. And so there are hundreds and hundreds of students and families who are grateful that you're there for them so they can drop their children off and know they're going to be truly safe under your care. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it helps me sleep at night knowing that. And you're going to be a difficult act to follow, but we know that you'll still be at the department, so we can always call on you.
Definitely
So
visit.
thank you.
Just a quick thank you for the special words. It really has been an honor the last 5 years. They've been truly the best of my career.
Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Yeah. Mrs. Prusso. Mrs. Prusso.
I'm like, I'm ready.
I just wanted to say also, as a parent of children who go to Livermore High School, thank you for keeping not only the Prussos safe, but all the kids safe there. And it's really, as a parent, knowing that you're there is very comforting. So thank you very much.
Mr. Rogi.
I have gotten to know you the last couple of years through different issues and things, and I've found that you're very caring, very respected, and very well loved by the students. And I thank you, too, for keeping the Prussos safe. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Rogi. Mr. Wenzel.
In my other life, running a police department, the SRO position, it's you go to an academy and you go work the streets, and then when a position comes up, it's not an easy position to fill. And to find that person that can come in and do it well is the PD is very fortunate to have you. And I'm hoping now what happens next? Where are you going? Back to patrol?
Back to patrol, day shift, so I can still visit.
Yeah, I was going to
visit
say,
the campus,
over
some
by
football
Livermore High
games,
School?
yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, I thank you for your service, because, I remember back in the day, working with parents and being an SRO, you left out, you had to be a good politician, talking to people, and diversion and the things we did, so, congratulations, thank you for your work.
You're welcome.
Thanks. And I, too, want to thank you. We're really fortunate, all of us, to live in this city. And one of the reasons that it's so good in this city is we have stellar public safety. And it's an essential component to a good city to have a great SRO program. And I want to personally thank Chief Harris, the city manager, for allowing you to do it, and then for you being so good at it. You can see that you're good at it. And it's those little ties you make. People talk about community-based policing, but it starts with children, because those children are going to grow up to be adults. And when your children respect law enforcement and they grow up to be adults, that's what builds a great community, and you're integral to that. So I really thank you for what you've done. It's a great job.
Can I come back? Yeah. I don't want to drop it.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you, officer. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So we can get that cowboy tattoo.
Oh, we want to.
Thank you so very much.
Right here.
There you go.
Always a cowboy.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. How's it going?
Nice to see you. Your hand is so big. Good to see you.
Nicely done.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Very hard.
Thank you for your
Great job.
work. Oh, we love her. I mean, she's the best ever.
I love looking out there.
Yeah.
It just clears the room, doesn't it?
Okay, we're going to move in section 6. This is our student board member reports. This is our chance to hear directly from our 2 comprehensive high schools. They send representatives, and they're part of the process. And this evening, we're going to start with Olivia LaBarbera from Livermore High School.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I'm pleased to report that LHS has had a wonderful past 3 weeks. Currently, we are 2 days into our Teacher Appreciation Week. This week is in honor of our amazing teachers at LHS who dedicate not only every day, but their entire lives to bettering the students at LHS. I'd like to give a shout out to one of my favorite teachers, who's actually out in the crowd right now, Mr. Castro, who inspires not only me, but every student he has ever taught to be a better version of themselves. As Brad Henry once said, a good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning. That quote rings true to teachers at Livermore High, and especially Mr. Castro. Speaking of Spirit Weeks, last week the seniors had a Spirit Week in honor of May 1st being Decision Day. Monday was Senior Shirt Day, where we wore our class shirts. Tuesday was Career Day, where we dressed up as our future profession. Wednesday was Decision Day, where we dressed up according to our after-high school plans. Everyone's path is different, and it was so nice to be able to see the blend of different colleges, branches of military, and trades. Thursday was College Colors Day. Friday was Aloha Day, which was meant to symbolize our goodbye to Livermore High. Starting today, LHS is hosting an e-waste drive to collect old, broken, and unusable electronics. They're being collected and disposed of safely. So if you have any electronics you're in need of getting rid of, it's in the quad. On April 21st, Livermore High celebrated more than 300 students who earned their academic Block L. This is a wonderful achievement, and I'm glad we were able to celebrate those students and their academic success. We're also hosting our 3rd blood drive of the year on May 21st. Every time you donate, you save up to 3 lives. I can't wait to donate and help those in need. There's only a month left of senior year, which is both exciting and terrifying. I can't wait to see all the fun that our final days at LHS have in store for us. As always, good night, and today is a great day to be a cowboy.
Thank you very much. And Avery Peralt from Granada was not able to make it tonight, and so we're lucky enough to have Riley Mora.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. My name is Riley Mora, and as President Bueno said, I will be filling in for Avery Peralt. The Granada community is filled with excitement as we approach the final weeks of the 2018 to 2019 school year. The spring sports are coming to an end, AP and IB testing has begun, ASB and class office election results have been announced, and senior ball tickets are on sale. In the past weeks, the community has also had the joy of witnessing our seniors commit to some of the most prestigious universities in the nation, from Harvard to Cornell. While Granada celebrates these academic successes, we also take pride in those who have chosen an alternative route to success. Indeed, the last Humans of Granada post featured a Granada alumnus who chose not to go to college and instead enlisted in the Air Force and later went on to become the CEO of a large legal company. The exciting end-of-the-year events are in full effect, but the community's commitment to global outreach has not tapered. Indeed, just a few weeks ago, students participated in a 24-hour race on campus. Students raised over $6,000 through this event, all of which went to end human trafficking. Last week, the Human Rights Club hosted a Sexual Assault Awareness Week. During this week, the club hosted a fundraiser, created informative art pieces, and gave a presentation to students, all regarding sexual assault. The Challenge Success Team at Granada, a group working in conjunction with Stanford University, is dedicated to inspiring success while building a less stressful environment for all students. Just a few weeks ago, utilizing the results from January's student survey, the team went to a conference, again in conjunction with Stanford University, to establish their goals to improve the Granada community based on the results of this survey. In summary, the Granada community is full of pride as we watch our seniors move on to the next step of their journey and full of excitement as yet another successful school year comes to a close. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much. Nicely done. We're going to move to Section 7, and this is the opportunity for our employee associations to come forward and tell us a little bit about what's going on with their respective association, their union. And so this evening coming up first is Kate Sorrell. She is the president of the Livermore Education Association.
Oops.
Better go to Midas.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the school board, Superintendent Bowers, members of the cabinet, and members of the audience here and at home. My name is Kate Sorrell, and I'm the president of the Livermore Education Association. Today is National Teacher Appreciation Day, and tomorrow is the California Day of the Teacher. I would like to give a shout out to the members of the Livermore Education Association and recognize their contributions to fulfilling the district mission that all students graduate with the skills needed to contribute and thrive. To the counselors who provide academic and social emotional support so students can be successful. To the nurses who provide care and support to medically fragile students. To the psychologists who ensure students receive appropriate services based on their needs. To the speech pathologists who assess, diagnose, and treat communication disorders. To the classroom teachers who nurture, mentor, and educate their students. To the teachers on special assignment who provide tools and support to classroom teachers. I am proud to represent and advocate for the men and women who are committed to the success of every student, who use a wide range of skills to reach and teach our students, who are idealists, dreamers, debaters, negotiators, advocates, and problem solvers. On May 22nd, educators, parents, and community members will rally in Sacramento to attend CTA's Red for Ed Day of Action. We are united in our resolve to reform the flawed, outdated charter school laws that are hurting students and public education. Leaders will meet with members of the California legislature to advocate for the passage of 3 assembly bills. AB 1506 ensures local communities control the authorization and renewal of charter schools. AB 1506 establishes a cap on the unregulated growth of charter schools in California. AB 1507 prevents charters from operating outside of the district that authorize them. On behalf of the counselors, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, classroom teachers, and teachers on special assignment, I ask that you support our efforts by wearing red for Ed on Wednesday, May 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't see the others, just the announcers. Announce them as CSEA is Mamie Kristovich. She's the president. SEIU, Teresa Jennings wasn't able to make it. And our confidential, Cindy Martinez. So thank you all for what you do, representing all of our employees, 1,600. Moving to Section 8, communication from the public. We talked about this a little bit ago. Communication from the public is the time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on the agenda. We, the board, may listen, and we can ask staff clarifying questions, but we cannot take action or discuss items that aren't on the agenda, and this is all in accordance with the Brown Act. If there's someone who would like to address something that isn't on the agenda, please fill out a speaker card. It's not mandatory, but it makes it a little easier. When you come up, our deputy chief, our deputy superintendent, chief, you like that? Old habits, old habits. Chief? 3-minute clock, and if you get to around the 2:30 mark, I'm not being rude, I'll usually just say, it doesn't sound like you're going to wrap it up, just so we keep it in an orderly fashion, keep it around to 3 minutes. So I believe we have, I have a card. Any others coming down? Nope. So I'll call up Kimberly McKenzie.
Good evening. I apologize, I did not dress for television. I didn't know this was televised, but at least black is slimming.
Perfect.
Members of the board, my name is Kimberly McKenzie, and I'm a concerned parent of a first grader at Arroyo Seco Elementary. In an email sent to Mike Biondi on March 16th, 2018, I laid out details of an event that involved my son while on the Arroyo Seco campus. In an excerpt from that email, I wrote, "While our son is both at Arroyo Seco and the ESS program, we trust that he will be provided a physically and emotionally safe environment. On February 2nd, 2018, there was an incident involving my then kindergartner in which he was physically locked in a bathroom by 3 fourth graders. He had items thrown at him while they yelled and screamed and terrorized him. He repeatedly asked them to stop while yelling for help, and they did not. Instructors at ESS noticed the boys holding the door closed, intervened, and reported it to the office at Arroyo Seco. They notified my husband and I of the incident and urged us to follow up with Principal Esmet due to the severity of the issue and the emotional state that it left our child in. We trusted that Ms. Esmet would take this incident very seriously and fully investigate with all parties involved. Unfortunately, she failed to communicate or interview with ESS in any way. In my email to Mr. Biondi, I also outlined our concerns as parents. Quote, I am concerned that this is the individual that is trusted with making decisions regarding the safety and the well-being of our students. Her approach and demeanor with parents does not give us reason to have confidence in her abilities, and she does not display the emotions of someone who truly cares and connects with children. I concluded my email by saying, nothing can change this incident and the emotional damage that it has done to my son. But what I will not do is let another child be victimized or traumatized without documenting Ms. Esmet's gross mishandling of the situation. Fast forward to this past Friday, May 3rd. I received text communication from another ESS parent regarding a report of an alleged sexual assault that occurred on campus, with the accused being a student in the ESS program with my son. That parent also informed me that Ms. Esmet, again, has failed to communicate with the ESS program. ESS, instead, was informed of these very serious allegations by concerned parents. In my opinion, this is unacceptable. Ms. Esmet is in charge of the safety and the welfare of our children while on campus. She was made aware of this information, and I would hope that protocol would be to remove that child from all school-related activities while an open, active police investigation was going on, and to notify ESS. None of these steps has happened. I understand that she has a legal responsibility to protect the child in question, but I also feel that she has a responsibility to all the other students and families of Arroyo Seco. I feel she has failed. It is evident that there is a clear lack of leadership, a clear lack of communication, and a clear lack of care. The safety of her students and the concerns of parents is not her top priority. I'm here tonight just to make sure that my voice is heard. As a concerned parent, I ask you to look at the actions and the decisions made by this principal. I hope that you see that she is not equipped to lead or make decisions on behalf of our children. Our children deserve care, support, and a positive role model. They deserve someone who wants them to succeed, to see them thrive, and someone that actually enjoys being around them and leads by example. Instead, they are looking up to someone that seems to have no interest in being around them, has no interest in dealing with their parents. She seems cold, unsupportive, narcissistic,
Just politely a time reminder.
and is clearly taking the necessary steps to build her resume on her way to a district-level position. So tonight, I ask that a change be considered in the leadership at Arroyo Seco Elementary, because as of this moment, there is no clear leadership, and our children deserve better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Could we ask that you leave that copy of your statement here?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Certainly, Ms. White.
Mrs. Dr. Bowers, could we have I would call it incident report, but an update on this status, but also the relationship, include the relationship between the district and ESS and what happens on our campuses after school.
Okay. Comment? Okay. You okay?
Yeah, just.
Okay. We're going to move into Section 8B, and this is correspondence. Formal written correspondence to the Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by the Board or in the Superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will be acknowledged at the following meeting. Electronic communication received via the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District website by accessing the formal written correspondence to the Board of Education link with all fields complete and verified shall be treated as formal correspondence. Mr. Clerk, do we have any correspondence? If so, would you please summarize?
Yes, Mr. President, we have 3. The first is from Jennifer Ledette, Site Coordinator, Alameda County Safe Routes to Schools Program. Formal board correspondence received via email. Ms. Ledette invited the board to join in a Bike to School Day event at one of the 9 LVJUSD schools that are participating on May 9th. Number 2, Kid Connection invitations. Formal board correspondence received via email. The Board of Education received invitations to Kid Connection open houses being held at Arroyo Seco Elementary School, Croce Elementary School, Mitchell K-8 School, and Smith Elementary School. And this piece came in after the agenda was published, but prior to the 4 p.m. deadline. Alameda County Office of Education, formal written board correspondence received regarding the LVJUSD 2018-19 second interim report. Superintendent of Alameda County Schools, L. Karen Monroe, acknowledged that the district's second interim financial report as of March 5th, 2019 accurately reflects the district's financial status and that it is consistent with the state's criteria and standards to receive positive certification. It is further recognized that LVJUSD will submit a detailed list of any board-approved ongoing expenditure reductions, if needed, for the 2019-20 adopted budget. ACOE is committed to working with our district to ensure our long-term fiscal health. And with that, that concludes our correspondence.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Moving into Section 9, this is our information discussion items. I'd ask Dr. Bowers if you'd introduce the first item.
Certainly. So it's my pleasure to invite Mrs. Kim McNeely forward. She's our bond program administrator, and she will be introducing some important folks from our community who actually run our Citizens Bond Oversight, and they will be giving their annual report.
Thank you, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. It's my pleasure to provide some brief introductory comments this evening before turning this item over to Von Dragoo, our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee Chair, and he will introduce the committee members attending this evening as well. The annual report of our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee is for the 2017-18 fiscal year, which ended June 30th of 2018. The financial and performance audit report was performed by NIGRO and presented to our board, you all, on December 11th of 2018, and then the following evening to our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee on December 12th. There were 13 projects undertaken in the 2017-18 year. Several of these projects impacted campuses like our technology upgrades and our playground projects. The Major J expenses for 2017-18 were $15.4 million. Major projects in this year included the technology upgrades, playground improvements projects, and the Mitchell interim housing design and preparation process. The 2017-18 projects allowed our district to work, to get some early work in on the program that benefited students immediately while allowing us to work on larger design process and state approvals that took longer periods of time. I was pleased again to get to work this year with our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee to assist them in preparation of their annual report. And I will turn the item over to Mr. Dragoo so he can present the annual report to you and introduce our committee members who were able to attend this evening. It's all you.
After that, I don't have to say too much. So 4 of us are here tonight to present our report. Barbara Bailey, Vice Chair, Betty Cleveland, and James Fisher, excuse me. So other members include Carrie Chamberlain, Sally Dunlop, Isidore Loth, Will Macedo, Kevin Lawler, Juan Lopez, and Tim Buscard. Robert Kaufbull was a part of our board for part of the time this year, but he resigned as he's taken a new position and had to leave the area. We believe we'll be leaving. Betty will be leaving us later this year. She serves an important role as a representative of a senior citizens organization. I mean, you're certainly aware of the Major J program described in our report, and it's summarized as modernizing classrooms, labs, and technology for the 21st century, repair and replace aging infrastructure, renovate facilities for advanced science, technology, engineering, and math education, and for technical career readiness, improve safety and security at school sites, upgrade hardscapes, physical education facilities, pickup and drop-off zones, and lastly, increase access for individuals with disabilities. The Citizens Bond Oversight Committee serves the taxpayers of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. The committee's ultimate purpose is to inform the public and the school board regarding the use of the bond funds. To accomplish this, we are authorized to actively review and report on the proper expenditure of bond funds, advise the public regarding compliance with accountability requirements defined by law, provide oversight that the bond expenditures are in compliance with the bond language, review the annual bond audit prepared by the independent audit firm, inspect school sites to confirm the actual implementation of the bond expenditures, review district efforts in implementing cost-saving measures, and issue reports like this report at least annually. Let me summarize the work of the committee. The committee typically meets every other month during the year, along with certain special meetings. We had 8 meetings this year. The meetings have a standard agenda, are open to the public, and posted on the district office and on our webpage as required by the Brown Act. We have a standing agenda, similar to a board meeting, visitor and public comments, minutes review and approval, Measure J project updates, typically provided by Mr. Boskanowski and Ms. McNeely, financial updates typically provided by Ms. Kinder, and information and other matters requested by the committee. We have periodic special agenda topics that include our election of officers. I was elected chairman this year to my surprise, but here I am. Annual audit report presented by NIGRO and NIGRO. Kim just mentioned that. Future bond sales updates provided by the district financial advisor. Features and uses of the bond financial data system, including refresher and review training of the online system. The committee has full read access to this data system. The committee, in that way, we can review the same information as the auditors. We get state funding updates as they occur, and we work on our report preparation. A highlight of our year is typically the annual project tours. That typically takes place at the end of the school year, highlighting major project work planned for the summer. And this year we had an extra meeting. We had a special tour and demonstration of the classroom video and voice pilot system at Rancho School. This is an important part of the technology upgrade for the 21st century learning environment. This demonstration was provided by the classroom teacher and the voice video project manager, Mr. Lemos. I have independent confirmation that this system works well. Some of you know that my wife is a teacher and a teacher of teachers in the Livermore district since retired. She works with the Pedrosi Foundation as a reader for the Scholarship Fund and also works in the Young Scholars Program at Maryland Avenue School. And part of her work over there is to read every month to the 5th grade Young Scholars and in the classrooms at Maryland Avenue School. And she commented to me how terrific that voice video system was, right? It's a wonderful thing to observe that the teacher can project her voice around the room and the children can hear it and they can similarly respond in terms of how it works. Tremendously valuable at a place like Maryland Avenue School, which there are so many English language learners there. It's a big help to them. Our summary of our annual report is as follows. The district continues to efficiently deliver the voter-approved bond projects. Voter-approved priorities continue to be implemented. The committee has access to specific information and our questions are answered in a timely and professional manner. Financial reports continue to be compliant, timely, and also transparent. Based on our review and observations, the Measure J Citizens Bond Oversight Committee finds that the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District is in compliance with the requirements of Article 13A, Section 1B3 of the California Constitution, and that funds are being used for the purposes specified by Measure J. As reported by NIGRO and NIGRO, a professional accountancy corporation, they disclosed no instances of noncompliance in terms of Prop 39 and Measure J. That's required text that I read that, so I thought. Conclusion, on behalf of the committee, we would like to acknowledge the board for their courage and wisdom and hard work in pursuing this bond. The students of our schools in this community have greatly benefited from this work. We believe the projects implemented effectively support the mission of the district, that each student to graduate with the skills needed to contribute and thrive in a changing world. The written report we present tonight satisfies a statutory requirement and, in a word, a minimum requirement. The committee is working to develop supplemental reporting means to more broadly and fully explain to the taxpayers of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District the scope and efficacy of the Measure J bond implementation. And finally, we'd like to recognize our community for their generous support of the educational needs of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Might have a couple comments or questions. We'll start with Mrs. White.
We need to continue to be grateful to the citizens of Livermore for approving Measure J, for the planners and the detailers that put it all together, and for your work and the accuracy as the auditor showed that we didn't have any areas of concern. To me, that's very important. Thank you, and thank you to you and your committee.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Mrs. Prusso?
I just wanted to echo Mrs. White and say thank you to the Oversight Committee. I know it's a lot of time and effort, and I really appreciate the work that you do for the district and for our kids and for our community. So thank you very much.
I too thank you for the work you're doing. One of the things that makes it difficult in almost any community to raise bond or parcel tax is public trust scrutiny.
Right.
But when you put something like this in place and you have broad support from the community and we have transparency and we get good ratings and we're doing what we said we were going to do for the benefit of children, you're going to keep that public trust. And so it's essential what you're doing. So I really want to thank you all for what you're doing, and especially Betty Cleveland, because I know she said she's stepping down. So thank you all very much. Yeah, if you would, if the group of you that are here, if you would come around, we just want to thank you, shake your hand. Thank you.
The old lady goes first.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your help. Thank you very much. Thanks. (902), please. 92, please.
So for our next item, I'll ask Mrs. Kim McNeely, our bond program administrator, to come forward once again. And this is actually dovetails very nicely to our showcase and our student video production, which everyone's going to enjoy.
Thank you. I was encouraging our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee to stay. President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. As you're aware, the Bond Department team provides regular updates to our Board of Trustees on the progress of the Measure J program. The team continues to look for ways to include students in that process and to apply their learning to real projects that benefit our district. For the spring showcase, we were very lucky to work with the Livermore High School video class. From really our very first meeting with the class, our producers Jared Michaelis and Harley Wilder had a vision for where we were going to go with this project, and they were certainly greatly assisted by their amazing instructor, Mr. Castro. We met with the team. Several other students who are here this evening supported that effort, and they were an absolute delight to get to work with on this project. The Bond team was honored to work with them. We enjoyed both of our high school expo visits and the chance to tape with students, and we enjoyed our campus quad lunchtime activities where we got to to do interviews with students and share the work of the program. So this was some additional work that we hadn't done previously, and it was a lot of fun to get to do. Wanted to thank both of the high schools for supporting this effort. They contributed footage and taped and offered a lot of support to us. Special thank you to Principal Geeti Esmat and teacher Christine Brown at Arroyo Seco for sharing their campus and their students with us. You'll get to see in just a moment in what ways. They were terrific to work with, and we're very appreciative of that help. I'm going to turn it over to our producers, Harley and Jared, to introduce the video and then to share the rest of the team with you. So I'm going to get out of the way and let them come up.
Okay. Hello, I'm Jared. This is Harley. I'd like to thank, first off, I'd like to thank Tina and Kim back there for working with us, because without them we couldn't get any of this done, and like they planned a lot of it. I'd also like to thank our great teacher, Mr. Castro, over there. He did stuff. He did stuff that either we couldn't do or we were just too lazy to do. So it was great to do. I'd also like to thank you guys here at the board for actually like contributing and helping us and dealing with some of our mayhem. Yeah, I didn't plan a speech like a lot of people, so I'm like. Trying my best.
So some of the parts that we had to do for Jared and I, since we did help direct this film, is we got together with Tina and Kim, and we just kind of planned out what their vision of this video was. So we wanted to showcase all the different projects going around in our district, and we wanted to highlight some of the main things. So like video voice, the Livermore High School new stadium, and then the construction going on at Granada High, and working with them, we were able to plan out specific scenes and what we really wanted, and we got to use Dr. Kelly Bowers, and it was a pleasure to get to do that. And so we hope you like our video.
I'm sure we will.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Bowers, Superintendent of Schools for the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, an award-winning school district serving more than 14,000 students in transitional kindergarten through 12th grade. In 2016, our community passed Measure J, a $245 million facilities bond to repair and upgrade our district's aging school facilities.
Got to get her steps in.
Facilities that are safe, well-maintained, comfortable, stimulating, and designed to support instructional activities and the learning process will prepare our students to contribute and thrive in a changing world. Let's check out some of the projects now and see what's in store for our children. Our district can accomplish this work with spaces that are flexible, inspire and engage students, and provide teachers with the facilities and tools necessary to deliver 21st century instruction. In this showcase, you will see the next steps in several signature projects in the Measure J Bond program. Our team will continue to keep our board and our community updated through regular updates to our Board of Trustees, through our webpage, and I hope future videos. Through all of these updates, we celebrate the amazing support our community provides to our schools and our students. Our bond project management team has been hard at work designing, planning, and building some wonderful projects for the students in our district. I'm happy to return to you with my second update on the Measure J projects. Once again, I'm honored to work with the many talented students in our district in a collaborative project to highlight our progress. For this production, I'm so fortunate to be working with our Livermore High School video production class. Our district is doing some great work thanks to your generous support through the Measure J Bond. There are many building needs in our district, but we are off to a great start with many years of exciting work ahead, affecting all of our campuses and students. Our team is ready to make campus changes that will support each student with the skills needed to contribute and thrive in a changing world. Until our next update, Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Our students
Staff.
And community.
to build a brighter future.
I'm most excited about the newness of the facilities. The pool is going to be amazing. It's going to be great that the dance team has a space and it's all centrally located, and I think it kind of aligns with the vision of reinvigorating the pride of the school, because the community came together and got this money and said this is important that we invested in our kids and in the future, and so I think that's the piece.
It's wonderful that we are able to update all of our facilities at every campus, and especially this one, because as you know, the sports complex was, we'll just say, it wasn't up to snuff. And so with all this money that we are getting in, we can update every aspect of our school and make it as great as it can be.
Well, I'm excited because having the facilities to actually properly get an education, as opposed to saying, well, we could have done this if we had that facility, is important, because I believe actually doing stuff is better than talking about doing stuff. And having a facility that enables that, I think, is critical for students to become better, more well-rounded human beings.
I think the layout looks really nice, and I'm really excited to get it probably when I'm a senior, because for wrestling, you have dual meets, and it's in the center of the gym, and if we have a nice gymnasium, everyone that comes there would think it's nice also.
I think it's going to increase support for athletics. So swimming is going to get more fans out to the meets and stuff like that, and basketball games and volleyball games should get more people there.
So a lot of the legwork for the gym was done by Mr. Fletcher and Mr. Petersdorf initially a few years ago, and a few of the PE teachers who actually went and toured some other gyms in the Bay Area. They got to see some of the features that they liked in those gyms, and they took those ideas back here and applied them to our own design. And that's basically where it started.
As a classroom teacher, I have really enjoyed using the video projection equipment because it's given me a chance to make sure that all my children in my classroom are able to hear me clearly. Not only do they hear me clearly, but using the handheld microphone, they're able to hear their classmates clearly. So this has been wonderful for my students as they're working on their oral projects, to be able to speak to their peers in a way that all can hear, and also gives them a lot of enthusiasm and engagement in this project. So I'm so excited to see our district roll out with all classrooms having this video projection and equipment in their classrooms as well.
I like the microphone because if you're in the back of the room, you can hear the teacher better, and she could talk with her normal voice. I like the projection system and microphone because it's clear for me to hear her because I sit in the back of the row.
What I like about the projection system is that it really helps us so the whole class can see it, and it's nice and big so you can see everything we need to see on it.
Thank you.
Nicely done, guys. Yeah, your whole team, come on through. Great job. We appreciate what you did. Yeah.
Put together the outtakes, right?
Nice job. Nice job.
Thank you.
Keep showcasing.
Thank you.
Nice job. Nice job.
Nice job.
How about that, John? Well, one take, if you count, a day.
Then we're to our adult, 9-3.
So with permission, we'd like to move up 10.1 as a discussion action item, just because we have someone who, some folks who might need to leave in order to get to the airport. And so we were hoping we could move up 10.1, and it would be a discussion action comprehensive safe school plans. Is that okay?
That's
Okay, so Mr. Scott Vernoy is eager
Yes,
to
we're
come
good.
up and present the comprehensive safe school plans for your consideration and approval.
Good evening, President Bueno, Superintendent Bowers, members of the board. Thank you very much for helping us out by moving this item forward. Tonight, I am here to present our comprehensive safe school plans to the board. So, school safety is our one of our highest priorities to create positive, safe learning environments so that everyone can thrive. Our comprehensive safe school plan is just one part of our overall district site operations plan. Though just one part, the comprehensive school plans allow for sites to continually assess, modify, and engage the school site community in an ongoing process for improvement of all of our plans. I planned that.
Has a great sound effect, Mr. Benoit.
Was that your sound effect?
The comprehensive safe school plan is a collection of procedures for the schools to use in the event of an emergency, as well as policies to promote a safe learning environment. So the development of the plan is an ongoing process, and it doesn't just happen in a few weeks. It continues out throughout the year. The development takes time. Ed Code requires that all California schools to develop, review, update, and approve by March 1st, which all of our plans were approved by their school site councils by March 1st, and forward to onto the district for approval. Developing the plan is a fluid, ongoing process, which includes many parts and that are developed throughout the year, not only at one time during the year. Each school site council is responsible for the development of the site plan, and plans are created cooperatively with students, parents, staff, and the district. Plans should focus on the strengths and experiences of the site to meet the safety needs. And you'll see how a lot of those strengths are used to help support our plan as we move forward. So the data is analyzed by all of the schools and the district, and we look at a lot of different data, be it our suspension, expulsion data, our behavior referrals, attendance rates, surveys from our students and our parents, and school improvement plans. After reviewing all of the information available, goals are developed to increase plan effectiveness. Those goals come as a result of analysis of the district and individual school data. So here is the table of contents to the comprehensive safe school plan. You can see that it's made up of 8 different sections. We have our site committee members, our district mission statement, our site-specific plan information, which are strengths and weaknesses of our schools, the data analysis that all of our sites go through, and then our strategies and activities. These are our goals that help us to improve and take a look at the areas that we find needs to be looked at. Our disaster emergency plan is part of this, as well as our safe ingress and egress, and then our LVJUSD board policies that also help to support this plan. So goal 1 for our district, a couple of years ago, all of our schools used to write their own goals, and it was a little disjointed. Though it met the letter of the law, it wasn't as efficient as it has become over the last couple years. Now we work together as school sites to develop district-wide goals for us to be able to focus a light upon one area and then work together to help to improve those areas. And I think that it's been very beneficial, not only to our sites, but to our district as a whole. And I thank you for those comments that you gave us a couple years ago to sort of set us in that direction. We really do appreciate it. Our first goal is we will provide an environment that will promote a positive school climate that is emotionally safe and which students treat each other respectively. So here are our objectives that we have put in place to meet those goals. Staff will communicate expectations to students in terms of respectful behavior, appropriate language, and problem solving. This has had a big bump this year by our program, our PBIS, our Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports at our first group of schools that we are implementing it to. Expectations for students and behavior are communicated to parents as well as to our children. Our reintroduced character education to promote fairness and respect on campus. To recognize students who display positive character attributes. So we have had a lot of progress in this area this year. The implementation of positive behavioral interventions and support, our youth mental health first aid training, our introduction and implementation of Choose Love, the creation of our mental health webpage, and then our ongoing wellness committee meetings. Tonight, I would like to introduce Sherry Johnson, the principal of Jackson Avenue Elementary School, who's here to tell a little bit about her implementation of Choose Love at her site.
It is with great pleasure that I share with you Jackson Avenue's progress on increasing a safe school environment. We began our journey last spring with all of our staff receiving a copy of Scarlett Lewis's book, Nurturing, Healing, and Love. This shared reading experience helped to set the stage for our work together. Our teachers then planned out their teaching time frame of the units and lessons of the Choose Love curriculum. We folded the aspects of courage, gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion into our weekly school-wide morning meetings. This added focus directly supports our character education program. The PBIS framework also supports the learning of these characteristics, creating an environment of safety, caring, and acceptance. Our students strive to be a Stingray Star, which stands for being scholarly, being trustworthy, being accepting, and being responsible. Our PTO focused on the acceptance aspect of being a Stingray Star by starting our first annual Abilities Awareness Week, where we had many of you out to our site to read to students on different abilities. Students participated in various stations to understand differences. We also had a former student speak to our upper grade students about living with autism. Creating a safe environment includes looking through that same lens for all aspects of our site, including the environment in the bathrooms, in which volunteers painted positive and uplifting phrases and messages on our bathroom doors. I leave you with this short video, totally different than what you just saw. So be kind, it's elementary. But this video is entitled Jackson Avenue Stingrays Choose Love.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. So as you can see, our implementation of Choose Love is gaining traction, and this being our first year, we have seen the implementation thrive, and we were really glad in the progress that we're making during this last year. So our next goal has to do component 2 in place, and is that we will increase the overall safety of our campus by assessing and refining the school disaster plan. So this has been another really important thing as we work as a district and all 17 sites to focus on what we can do to improve our disaster plans and school safety. So last year we did a assessment of all of our schools and facilities with an outside company, but we continue to do walkthroughs that are performed by our administration, our safety committees, but I think we all do formal and informal assessments on a daily basis, whether it be the board or cabinet or our principals or our parents. And I always told people that 1,000 eyes are better than my 2. So if you see something that needs to be fixed or you have an issue with, it's better for you to tell me than for me to have to discover it with my own 2 eyes. Sooner or later, I've been doing this long enough, I will probably run into the same thing that you saw. But if you're out jogging at 6 o'clock in the morning and see a broken sprinkler, well, I might have to be there at that time of day to see that. So really, if you're seeing anything, help us identify those things so then we can take action upon them. Our sites review the site disaster plan to become familiar with the procedures and responsibility relative to fire, earthquake, lockdown, shelter in place, and school site evacuation. So at our elementary schools, we do a drill every month for a total of about 10 drills. Our middle and high schools, we do 4 drills quarterly. There is a law working its way through the legislature currently that 2 of those drills will need to be lockdown drills. We once again are ahead of the curve because we have already infused our shelter in place, our lockdown, earthquake, and fire drills into our drill schedule so that we won't have to need to make any adjustments if that law were to come to fruition. And then again, looking at what we can do to assess our emergency bins and supplies and then replace as needed. I think it's always important to ongoing assessment of these things so that everything is up to date and useful. So there's the drills that are practiced to reinforce procedures. Emergency drill procedures are reviewed with parents through school publications as well as through newsletters. Student and substitutes now have emergency drill procedures as part of their substitution packets at our school sites. Additionally, we have had added training to all of our school administrators and Livermore district managers. It's my pleasure to introduce Steve Martin, principal of Rancho Las Positas Elementary School, who is here to review some of the things that he has done at his site to help improve school safety.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. Thank you for moving this item up so I can get to the airport. You know what they say, happy wife, happy life. So I wanted to share a few words about what we do at Rancho, along with safety tours where I take the staff around and show them where the emergency gas, water, and electrical shutoffs are. We practice drills sometimes twice a month, and the students have that down. They're proficient. They take it serious, they're quiet, they're orderly, and they know it's not something that we joke around about. So we've got that down. So the next step is the reunification process, which is where if we ever had a real emergency event where parents were asked to come and pick up their child from school, we want to start practicing that. So I ordered extra lanyards for every student along with extra ID cards. And our plan is to use the front of the school, having just one main excusal area for parents to come and pick them up. And in front of Rancho would be the ideal place, right there with the two big gates. And then the plan is to have parents, and we worked on this with our school site council and our safety committee, parents would come up, we would have tables set up with our office specialists and executive assistant, along with some teachers. Parents would say the name of their child. The students would be out in the field with their teachers in their classes, and we would have runners. We would have several teachers and fifth grade students, because we know that they're sometimes faster than the teachers, going out and retrieving those students that need to be brought back to their parents and excused. We would have a checkout sheet with like all their names and an emergency card with a sleeve, and we would also take their lanyard off their neck when we are dismissing them and excusing them to their parents, so that we know who we have dismissed. So that's something we're working on. I wanted to share that we had a really valuable PD offered by Officer Ryan Sanchez last summer at Lawrence Elementary. He also spoke to all staff, but then he did a special PD for just all the principals, talking about protocol if we ever have a lockdown and the best procedures to follow in that situation. So it's one of those things where the more you practice, the better you are prepared and the less stressed you'll be and be able to handle it. And so that's one of the things that we are doing at Rancho that I am excited to continue with more in the fall. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we don't have a video for this portion, but okay. So you can see how by focusing on one area, though everyone isn't working on reunification, we're going to be able to take what they've developed at Rancho and then expand that to all of our schools as we move forward. And it might not work the same at every school, but it's going to give us that foundational model to build upon at all of our schools. In all of our 17 schools, though we are focusing in on our emergency procedures, are doing different things that we also then will share with everybody else as we move through this next year. This is the second year of these goals, and it's a big lift, I will tell you that, right? Social emotional learning and emergency preparedness is huge. I would just like to take the opportunity to share our partnerships in the city with Livermore Police Department and the Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department. I had the pleasure of sharing all of our plans with both of the chiefs of both of the departments, and they were nice enough then to review our plans, and they will continue to help support us to improve those plans as we move forward. We're also looking forward, though sad that we're losing our current SROs, but also welcoming new SROs into our fold, who will also help us to continue to assess our schools and our safety at all of our schools. As well as we still are working with Crisis Management Solutions, who is helping us to identify and remediate a lot of safety things that they've identified over the last couple years to then in turn take us into the future. I would also tell you that the bond and maintenance as well as facilities has also been a huge part of our improvement of our safety throughout our school district, and they take the plans that and the assessments that have been provided and incorporate that into the plans and the construction projects as we move forward, so we don't have some of those problems as we go into the future. Here are many of much of the progress that we've had in the last year under this goal: increased safety partnerships, evaluation of drill schedule, additional cameras, and police surveillance. So we've added I think over like 200 cameras to our district over the last year, as well as integrating police, enabling them to be able to monitor our cameras when needed. That was through a federal grant that we received last year, and I believe in the next couple of weeks it will be up and running. So we're very excited for that. Additional fencing and gate upgrades, upgrading of hardware and badge access, site-specific safety improvements, improvement in emergency alert and notifications, and then technology enhancements that continue to help to keep our children safe, whether it's on our website or in our classrooms. So just as we review the two goals of providing an environment that will promote positive school climate, that is emotionally safe and in which students treat each other respectively, and goal 2, where we will increase overall safety of our campus by assessing and refining the school site disaster plan. Our schools are working very hard in both of these areas. We will always have work to do in both of these areas, and we will continue to review and to update as we move forward. The timeline is each school reviews and updates the comprehensive safe school plan by March 1st of each year, and that is because of Ed Code. And then each school site council approves and forwards a comprehensive school plan on to our district. But this is an ongoing process, and so this is one point in time that we will continue to adjust, share, and articulate and standardize all of these components of these plans to help create better, safer environments. And so at this time, the superintendent's recommendation is to approve the 2019-20 comprehensive safe school plans, but I'd be glad to take any questions or comments currently or at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Verneuil. We're going to start with Mr. Roque.
I've noticed, well, I'll try to get through all the plans. Is any one plan ever been audited for lack of a better word, doability?
They are audited, I will tell you that, because the auditors who just came audited to make sure that we had plans in place.
I meant
practical. The
practical
piece. I think we audit whenever these things occur. We reassess after every incident. So I would tell you they are reviewed after the incident, but if we have something in there about tornadoes, we probably haven't had a tornado, so it's hard to review the practicality, even though the plans are developed by professionals for us to implement. Or do you have a specific one that you're in mind?
I don't have a specific one. Did you just pick a school and go through each plan and walk through the school, find out who's available, what is not going to work because of staffing, or what is going to work? And I'm reading the law, and it's comprehensive in so many different areas, but to look at anti-bullying and sexual misconduct, are all those things in place at every school? That's what I'm looking at. Just take one plan, and because a lot of it's all boilerplate, I've noticed, so that it seems to work.
That's a great idea. I mean, I don't know if we do it to that level, but I think as we continue to focus on these plans and look for ways to improve it, I think that would be a nice tabletop exercise to be able to do outside or before something were to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roque. Mrs. Prusso?
Yeah, I guess my question was specifically for, I know there's probably some different challenges during the construction of the Major J and how we implement safety concerns, I guess. I know that we do, but specifically, what do you do at the school sites to make sure that we're still complying with the safety?
Yeah, so facilities and the bond department works with our campuses to obviously keep everyone safe, to keep the flow of traffic going smoothly. We update our emergency evacuation plans to make sure that we can get through areas at different times and of construction. So they work closely with the school as they're doing the improvements on our campuses.
And even before we had major construction, even with the solar projects, when we would bring in all of the lead team to meet with all of our senior cabinet staff, and we would go over everything, such as, you know, things that you don't even think about necessarily, but when the trucks are coming in with equipment, we need to make sure that those things are not happening at the same time when all the families and students are coming. And so there's a lot of control with that and a lot of communication that has to go back and forth. So there's always a district person representing our district's interest, which is our students, as well as someone from the other side, which is the construction side, interfacing with us. And so, for instance, at Granada, as you've seen, you know, there's this big cavern now, which is going to be a pool and things like that. So there has to be a lot of fencing and signage and different ways of handling it. But what's interesting about it is the students are very respectful and understanding, and they're kind of excited. They look at it, but they're, I mean, I have not seen any instances of any students breaking rules in order to, you know, get in the middle of it, or we haven't had any discipline incidents that I know of, because basically they're very excited by what's happening, and some of the students, like the Green Engineering Academy, they're going to visit it and look at things and use it as a learning experience. So, but there's a lot of pre-work that people don't see with our bond management, as well as any contractors, and they have guidelines about the vests they have to wear and how they check in and all that, because there's, you know, different people on campus. So.
Yeah, I would like to make it clear that all of those safety precautions are put into place before the construction begins, as well as we are flexible, and I think we're adaptive to the construction as it continues, and make adjustments to ensure the safety of everyone.
Okay. And then I just had a comment too. I just appreciate in the plans the recognizing having the Choose Love component, or the positive school environment, and the one specifically, the recognition of students who display positive character attributes, which probably doesn't really work at middle school or high school very much, but I know it works at the elementary school, and I think that's a really great component and kind of really helps keep the atmosphere there, the anti-bullying and the emotional well-being. So I appreciate that's been included in the plans.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso. Move to Mr. Wenzel.
Yeah, thank you for your work. I mean, it's interesting that when you look at the comprehensive safe school plans, when you talk to families, they really look at one dimension of it, and it's so vast. And you didn't even talk about the federal mental health grant that you're getting, which ties into it. And there's 1,300 employees that training has to continue and look at, and then the ed code changes, and then you have to meet those things. So it is one of these, it has come a long way from when I first started, and it's starting to focus that the foundation that each school is about 80%, 85% the same, but little adjustments, which is good when teachers transfer and such. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing, and it's very difficult, but I know once you sit down and talk to parents, they're excited, and they don't realize all the work that goes into it, and they feel better for their kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. White.
I think it's, as Mr. Wenzel says, it's the safety plans have evolved over the years. And as I was listening, I was thinking, being on the parent safety committee, would any parent who just happened to be on the parent safety committee be technically trained to be aware of all the things that they should be aware of? And every once in a while you're at CSBA or into somebody who is a professional safety person, and one of them is on the board. As this one said, you know, I kept telling them we have to get a professional in here to really look at this plant. And I was delighted to see that we have done that. And I guess it has been a long time since we had to work on reunification. but there were so many stories that were attached to the, must be a long time ago now, when the East Avenue students went to Livermore High because there was a safety concern at East Avenue. And the reunification process was centralized. But one story was that the mom came to get her student and said, well, I'll take my neighbor's student too. Well, the neighbor's name was not on the pink card. And so the neighbor's student stayed at school. And so it's an interesting aspect of the whole process that is not very prominent, but is really relevant. And I thank the principal from Rancho for instituting it at his school and bringing it to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White.
If I could make one more comment. One thing, so we did move this plan to a template, and you probably saw that it looked very similar to each other. But we're also in the process of digitizing all of these plans so that they can be accessible from every, like from your iPhone, from an iPad, from your computer, so that teachers will be able to access things, and principals will be able to pull up the shut-off valves and where they're located, and a tutorial even of maybe how to shut off the gas in a crisis. Lots of things that we have in that large red binder, right? That isn't available to everyone at every site. We hope by this time next year to have all of these things in place so that our staff is able to access all of these things pretty much immediately. So I thought that was also that I failed to.
No, there's a lot to it. It's comprehensive. And you know, we've looked at these for a couple of years, and I think you've done a nice job. It's one of those things that you're never done with. And it's so inclusive that sometimes, you know, this thing ends up looking like a wheel chalk. And I appreciate, you know, we can use the term boilerplate or however we want to put it, but the thing is, with most of these type of plans, and having been someone who was in the emergency business for better part of my life, you can only train people to a certain level. When things do turn bad, and this isn't just some of the real bad stuff. This is things that are just day to day, you know, social emotional stuff. That's a broad spectrum, and so, you know, the more routine, the more standardized they are, to me, the better it is, because people move between sites. You're never sure. The schools are dynamic; they move from room to room. You know, and I would like to see us at some point. Those tabletops are good. You know, we do. Well, I'm not positive how often we do them now, but you know, the fire drills and earthquake drills, those type of things. And to me, this is a more comprehensive version of that. You know, it's a big time commitment, and you know, I don't know that you could. You can only be good at so many things, and so to me, it's just you want to be good at a few of the things, the key components. And so you have to kind of decipher out of all this, those things that you want everyone to know. Because no one can absorb that entire binder. They just have to be easily referenced. And I think you've done a nice job at standardizing and bringing those things to the forefront.
Thank you very much. I would just like also to recognize our staff, not just our administrators, but our teachers and our classified staff and everyone who works in this district who really understands how important it is to keep our children safe and to be well prepared so that in case of emergency, they are able to react and to continue to do the things that will keep our families safe. So I would just like to say thank you to all of them as well. I think sometimes when we get into this plan, we miss the people piece of it, but it's the people who are going to implement this, and it's just wonderful that we work with such a committed group of individuals in keeping our children safe and sound. So thank you.
Thank you. And one thing I do appreciate is I see that it was vetted, and it was vetted pretty well. You know, you put it before your police department, your local fire, they're the ones that are going to be the first ones there on that side of the plan. And so I saw that you worked with them, and that's a key component to me. So thank you. Thank you for the work. Any other questions or comments? We have no cards on this. I'd entertain a motion. This is an action item.
I move that we approve the 2019-20 comprehensive school safety plans as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White to support the superintendent's recommendation, and that motion's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. Pruso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion passes 5-0. That first one's always
Thank
tough.
you.
There's a P on it.
I know.
Now you're good. Now we're going to come back, and if you'd introduce 9-3, please.
Yes, thank you. So now we'll go back to the adult education report, which is part of information discussion. And we will ask Mr. Mike Biondi to introduce the item, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
He is our
thank you.
Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and we have our administrators here as well.
So most people are familiar with our kindergarten through 12th grade programs. We do have outstanding programs beyond that, beginning at preschool and continuing through adult education. So tonight we're going to hear from Carla Estrada Hidalgo and Sarah Walk, who are going to tell us a little bit about the adult education program, which has a very positive impact on our adults and our community.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. Again, my name is Carla Estrada Hidalgo, and I am principal not only for Vineyard Alternative School, but also Livermore Adult Education. And I am here this evening with Sarah Walk, who is not only the VP for Vineyard Alternative School, but she's also the Adult Education Coordinator. And we're here to give you an overview of the progress of the Adult Education Program.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. It is my pleasure and honor to, thank you, to talk to you about adult education. Adult education is my passion, and I am excited to be part of it here in Livermore. So, all right, which one is forward? Okay, so here, so far in the 2018-2019, we have served 532 students in the adult education program, and we are continuing to register. We're having a short summer school session, so that number will go up a little bit. So who are these people? Who comes to adult education? 67% of the people that we serve in adult education are female, where 33 are male. Our students vary by age. The largest contingent are 26 to 35, followed by our 36 to 45-year-olds. 31% of the adult students who have attended the school this year have identified themselves as parents of K-12 children, and we ask them how many children that they have in their households. And so those parents have 385 children. So research is very clear that the educational level of the parents has a positive influence on the educational level of the children. So as adults come to adult education to improve their English language skills, to get their high school diploma or their GED, or just to learn a new skill, they are having direct impact on the academic performance of their children. 84% of the students that we served lived in the city of Livermore. So our funds come from two sources, from the WIOA federal grant, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, as well as CAPE, which is the California Adult Education Program. Those funds do not limit services by geographical region. So we serve any adult who comes to our door. So why do students come to Livermore Adult Education? The overwhelming majority of the students who come to Livermore Adult Education come for English language classes. They are non-native speakers of English, and they're coming to improve their listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. Followed by that, we have HSE, formerly known as GED, so high school equivalency students. We have community interest classes, which are, we have watercolor, creative writing, line dance, things like that. High school diploma, CTE, Career Tech Education classes, and Parenting for K-12 Success. So our English as a second language students, as I said, they come to us to develop their listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills so that they can be more effective members of our community, more effective parents, employees, and students. Our high school diploma classes, students come to us, they bring us their transcripts, we do an evaluation, and they are required to complete 170 credits, which follow the same categories that our high schools do, with a reduced amount of electives required. So once they achieve those 170 credits in the required classes, they are issued a California high school, a diploma from Livermore School District, Livermore Adult Education, certified by the California Department of Education. Our high school equivalency or GED preparation classes prepare our students to take the 4 GED tests. So a student has to pass each of the 4 tests, the language arts test, the math, the science, and the social studies. And when they do that, the GED testing service sends their scores to the California Department of Education, who then issues that person a certificate of high school equivalency. So for 50 years plus, since just after World War II, the only way to get a certificate of high school equivalency was to take the GED test. So we've all called it the GED for 50 plus years now, but recently, there are new tests the student can take. A student can take a test called the HiSET test, the TASK test. So there's a movement in adult education to change the verbiage from GED to high school equivalency, because there are many ways now or 4 different ways to get your high school equivalency. We do have career preparation classes. Everything starts with our academic classes. Students need to read, write, do math, and be ready to participate in business administration classes. We focus on the office suite, helping people develop those skills. And we are just in the process of launching an entrepreneurship pathway. This entrepreneurship pathway is specifically designed for our non-native speakers of English to learn the skills and get support to start their own business. The research is very clear that an immigrant to the United States is twice as likely to start their own business as someone who was born in the United States. So we identified this as an opportunity to support the families in our district who are immigrants and non-native speakers of English. Like I said, our community interest classes, we have art, Spanish, line dance, and creative writing, always fun. So the next steps for Livermore adult education. We serve the Tri-Valley region, like I said, and our goals for the next year are to increase our student enrollment in all program areas, to expand our parenting for K-12 success offerings, and to continue to facilitate access to employment through career education and community partnerships. So I want to thank you again for your support for adult education. I think it's a very important part of our community, and I'm very happy to be part of it here in Livermore. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a discussion item. We're going to begin with Mr. Rogie.
Hi, good evening. Is this the only adult education in the Valley?
No, Pleasanton has adult education, as does Dublin. But Dublin has English as a second language and career tech ed. They do not have the high school diploma or high school equivalency program, whereas Pleasanton has all 3. They have English as a second language, high school diploma, high school equivalency, and career tech ed.
You may not be able to answer this, but how has the class structure changed in the last 20 years?
Well, since I've been in adult education for more than 20 years, I'm happy to answer that question.
I didn't want to be perverse there.
Adult education has, on a national level, because most of my career was in Colorado, but as we're funded by federal grants, the same federal grant in Colorado as here in California, the trends are the same. Much like K-12, adult education has moved to increase rigor, increasing focus on preparing students for the next step, career tech education. So when I started in adult education, way back when, it was more of it was focused on immigrant integration in terms of socialization. So classes like the English language classes were much more life skills based, community building. And what has happened in the last few years is that is still part of what we do, but we're preparing our students to be more effective members of our community by providing the socialization, but also providing the education, pathways towards increased education, pathways towards employment. So the rigor has increased, the focus on preparing students for post-secondary education, and for career has really shifted significantly in the last 10 years.
One of the other changes, just particularly in Livermore and probably nationally, but I know definitely in our Livermore program over the last 20 years or so, has been the change in the countries of origin where our speakers come from in our ESL classes. So if you see, because I go, pretty much every year, and they always put on the map where everybody's coming from, and at one time it was probably 80% from countries of Latin origin and Spanish speaking. And we still have quite a few, but now it's a myriad of the whole. It's a global representation. So that's pretty amazing. I don't know if you have any more specifics on some of the countries, but pretty much every country is represented.
Certainly every continent except for perhaps the Poles, but we have our Spanish speaking population still makes up the greatest number, but it is shrinking. This year we've noticed an increase in Portuguese-speaking Brazilians. Who knows why? I don't know why. We have had an increase in people from India who speak a variety of different languages. It's not just one language. We have a large Russian-speaking population and Mandarin-speaking population. Like, for example, in Pleasanton, I know that they have a lot of Cantonese-speaking Chinese, but our Chinese students speak Mandarin, so who knows?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Prusso?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I think it's a great program that you guys have, and I have some friends who are taking the English language classes, and they've been really helpful for them.
Great, thank you.
In helping them with their students as well. So anyway, thank you. And I think it's nice that I saw the parenting, I was kind of looking at the parenting classes, and I think that's great, and I'm glad that we're trying to expand that, because I think there's definitely I have a need for it, so I'm sure, but I know that parents are desperate for something, so that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso. Mrs. White?
When I think of career preparation, I also think of ROP. Do you do any coordination with their internships that they've developed and such, so that the adults could fit into that program, or is it just not part of the
The majority of the ROP funding is for high school students.
Mhm.
So our students have to be 18 years old or older to enroll in our programming. So the Tri-Valley ROP, as well as the Eden Area ROP, are part of the same consortium. So we are the Mid-Alameda County Consortium for Adult Education, and they are part of our consortium, and they come to all our meetings, and we plan together. We talk, and we had a meeting today. We look at trends, we make programming decisions. So we are in conversation with them, but they don't we don't have a direct service-oriented relationship.
Well, if you have different, it sounded like there was no overlap in the clients that you serve, so.
No, by age.
By 18, they're aged out.
Or in high school. So we can't serve anyone who's still in high school or under the age of 18, and so that there's.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought you might have, and that your planning indicates that you're focused on the same things.
Yes.
But you can't serve the same students. And I just want to comment that one of the warm, fuzzy feelings I get there's a particular Monday morning in October when you see 6 or 8 moms with strollers get off the number 10 bus and walk down Almond Avenue, and you know that they're coming to learn English, and it's just neat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Mr. Wenzel? I am positive.
Thank you.
I think it's excellent programs. Looking at this, I'm first generation here. I remember what my dad had to go through coming from Europe. Didn't have anything close to this, had to learn the language and, succeed as well as he did. What is the mechanism for people to find you?
Word of mouth is our best source of advertising. That is one of our goals for the program next year, is to increase our presence, our public relation, our marketing. We publicize through the district website. We send
We did send out
through the Peach Jar. We did a mailing. We do mailings. Yeah, and our website. So we have. I'm excited. We have our new entrepreneurship pathway that we're starting. The CTE instructor that we have hired has recently moved to Livermore, and she not only runs her own marketing firm, but she is a certified CTE instructor. And so she's going to sort of help us take a critical look at what we're doing and make some plans for being better at promoting ourselves.
It's one way, it's churches. That's the comfort zone, and maybe a way that working with the churches and for them to understand that, here's an opportunity to learn language and such.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this question is fair, Susan. There were 2 grants she talked about. How much does that cover of the program? Ballpark? No, yes?
So the adult education program does not receive any direct LCFF funds. We don't receive any direct general funds. What we do is we do receive support from the district through in-kind. So the district provides us with space and technology and all of the things that come with that custodial. Now, there's a small portion of, so that we are in compliance with the law, a small piece of Carla's salary is paid by adult education, and a small piece of my salary is paid for by the general fund, because if my salary was paid 100% by grant funds, I would not be able to do any work for Vineyard School. So we've done this little switch so that we can be in compliance with the law, and that I can be there to support Carla and support Vineyard and Vineyard students and the Vineyard School. But we don't receive any direct cash funding from the district.
Thank you. Excellent program.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Very nicely done, and very appreciated what you guys do. It's one of the first places that new trustees go. At least we went.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic when you walk into a class and there's probably 15 different languages that are native, and they're being taught English by a single instructor. That's a pretty ingenious system.
That's what people always ask me. Do you speak Chinese? No? How can you teach English? Well, I teach English. And just wanted to let you know that on Thursday, May 30th, we will be having our end of the year picnic. You are all invited to join us. In Almond Park, we're going to have 2. We'll have a morning session that class starts at 9. The picnic won't start till 9:30 or 10. And the evening session will start around 6 p.m. So please feel free to join us and come have a hot dog and a hamburger, or both.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please. If you wouldn't mind, please come around. Oi. Really good job. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Oi. You okay? Yes, ma'am. You'd introduce 9-4, please?
Sure, thank you. So for our next item, we have Ms. Susan Kinder. She will be presenting a general fund budget update. And she is our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers. Tonight we bring you a budget update. These are the changes as of the last budget presented to you, which was in March. That was the second interim. So these are changes that happened over the March and April months. Our projected revenues are $154,716,694. We are projecting expenditures at $163,924,498. We have transfers in of $635,049. When we add the beginning balance, our ending fund balance is projected to be $5,146,971. So the changes are unfortunately a little bit negative. So we are down $231,101. And there were no changes to our expenditures, but there were three different things that happened in our revenues. So one is we received revised estimates from the SELPA, so we were able to increase our revenues by $141,256. We passed our period 2 attendance period, or P2 it's called, and unfortunately our attendance was down this year. So we unfortunately needed to adjust our local control funding formula by $396,100. And then we had additional revenue coming in from other funds for the retiree trust transfer. So when you add those three together, you get the $231,101. So not a big change. It's less than 0.1%. So next steps, we are diligently working on our 2019-20 budget and local control accountability plan, and reviewing staffing needs is a big part of that. We also are incorporating the board budget priorities. And of course, the governor's May revision is on all of our minds. I heard that he will have the budget out by the end of this week. So we look forward to hearing what will come out of that. And we will present what we find out in the May 21st board meeting. So that is all I have for you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mr. Rogie.
I was wondering if you knew what the tax receipts are to this point in the state. Are they up or down, flat?
So last I heard, so they were down at the beginning of the year, but April came back. So they are now a little bit above what the governor was projecting. So that's good news.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much. I would just use the opportunity to say that, there's a concerted effort right now, broad effort, superintendents, board members, the County Office of Education, ACOE, to get that full and fair funding. We're working with the unions. It's a collective effort. I've said since I came on this board 4 or 5 years ago, this is one of the most convoluted means of funding anything that's this meaningful that I've ever seen in my life. And I think that with this governor, we're going to see a change, and I really hope that we do. I think that the feedback that I've gotten from members, assembly members, and our electeds, is that they think it's going well, and it's just messaging. And I think that by having this collective effort, where it's broad-based, and everyone's going there saying the same thing, you need to fund education. You can't be, I don't care if it's 41st or 48th, we're at the bottom, and we're the 5th biggest economy in the world as a state. And every year we go through this where it looks like we're in the hole, and then we wait, it's the Mother May I, and I hope they give us something, and then May comes out, and then everyone breathes a sigh of relief, and you enter into this perpetual cycle of just stress. That's absurd. And I think, and I'm putting a lot of faith in this, and I'm going to put effort into it, and I know others are, we're going to try to change this, because this is absurd. I know you put a lot of work in, you and your whole staff put a lot of work in. The number one thing we do is raise the future, and that's children, and we're underfunding them intentionally every year. So I believe this governor is going to help us, and I'm hoping he does.
If I could just go back to your question, Trustee Rogie, the actual headline from what came out of school services relative to the April taxes, it was said April taxes beat the forecast by billions. So it was not a marginal increase. It was extraordinarily higher than originally predicted. So that may bode well. Fingers crossed for the May revise, we're hoping.
Thank you very much. No other questions. I have no cards. Would you introduce our next action item, please? Oh, I'm sorry. If we could, just a point, if we could take a small break, and we're going to adjourn at 21:15, and we'll come back in 5 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, 9:15. We'll come back at 9:20.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Any specialized permits are valid only for the areas that we identify through this process for the school year for which the specified declaration of need is adopted by the board. There are multiple types. There are 3 actually that we're going to be talking about that I'll be requesting your approval for. The first are emergency permits for English language learner authorizations. We have both CLAD and B-CLAD, which I've presented to you recently, and the B-CLAD is for our bilingual instructors. So in 18-19, which is our present school year, we had estimated about 7 CLADs and 5 B-CLADs, the need for 7 of the CLAD and 5 of the B-CLAD. We actually ended up applying for 2 of each, but we are going to move forward next year with the same estimation of 7 and 5. The next area or the next permit is the limited assignment permit. That is a permit that we issue to teachers who are fully credentialed. They have a bachelor's degree. They have completed a teacher preparation program. However, the area of assignment may be an area outside of the area that they obtained their credential in. And so this year, we had estimated that we wouldn't need any for multiple subject. We estimated 10 for single subject and 4 for education specialists, which is special education. We actually applied for 1 for multiple subject, 8 for single subject, and none for special education. But we are going to remain with the same estimations for the next year moving forward. The third and final area is in the area of interns. We estimated that we would need 15 for this present school year. We actually applied for 16, but we will continue forward with the estimation of 15 because we had many tonight of our teachers who have completed their clear credentials did start with us. I think they said a quarter of those that were honored tonight did start out with us as interns. So we do get a nice, healthy number of interns with us as well. So the process for the verification of need is the employing agency, the school district. We must certify that we do engage in recruitment practices and what those practices are. And we estimate what our staffing needs will be on an official form, the Declaration of Need form. That form does serve as verification that we do have a need to hire teachers who may not be fully credentialed. And we are required to get approval by our board to be able to do that. So the recommendation of our superintendent is to adopt the Declaration of Need for fully qualified educators for the 1920 school year.
Thank you very much. I don't believe we have any comments or questions. So I'd entertain, this is an action item, I'd entertain a motion.
A second?
We have a motion by Mr. Wenzel, support superintendent's recommendation, and that motion's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Any comments, discussion on the motion? Ms. Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Yes, Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. And that motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for our next item, I see our bond program director coming forward, Mr. Tim Bazanowski. And he actually, well, I think he has the next few items. And so he'll be presenting for your consideration some awards of contracts.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. We have 3 construction contracts in front of us this evening for your consideration. I'll start with the first is Video Production and Voice Enhancement Systems Project, Phase 2. Recall that this project includes the installation of new projection systems in every classroom in the district, every teaching station, as well as the voice enhancement systems, which you saw great examples of in this evening's Measure J project and program update. We've gone through what we call phase 1, which was all the elementary campuses, and that's what the examples of you saw this evening. And that first phase is all but complete. I would share huge kudos to the project team, predominantly led by Craig Lemos, our senior project manager, with the assistance of IT team, Frank Marty in specific, and then lots of training and in-service to the staff members by Mr. Warner's team once the systems are installed. This first phase has all been installed on swing shift. So the contractors go in after school, they work into the evening, and they leave as the night shift custodians are leaving. So it's almost an invisible process, and it's been extremely successful on this first phase of this project, and we're very, very happy that it's moving forward in the way it has. This second phase, which is the contract that's in front of you this evening, includes all of the middle schools, the K-8s, and the high schools, the remainder of the classrooms, if you will. And it's about double the size of number of classrooms as the first phase was. We're targeting a completion of this phase 2 project for the end of this calendar year. And then during the construction of this phase 2 portion, we'll be designing phase 3. You'll recall that when we awarded phase 1, we had the conversation about waiting until after we determined the cost for phase 2 to see if we could go forward with phase 3, which is now moving into specialty spaces of libraries, media centers, multi-purpose rooms, and potentially some of the larger facilities as well. And so with this bid that we have in front of you this evening, we're projecting that we are going to be able to move forward into all of those additional specialty spaces because we had a great bid, and we're well within budget. And so we're looking forward to designing that phase 3 of the project, which then would follow right on the heels of this phase 2. And we would project that that construction would begin right after the first of the year, outside of school hours, and then finish going into the spring of 2020. So the bidding process that we conducted, the document preparation occurred during the winter months, and into early spring, March and April, the project was put out to bid. 2 bids were received for this project on April 18th. Staff then evaluated them, reviewed them, and looked at all of the information submitted by the proposing contractors. And we have in front of us tonight a contract for $1,937,656 to EKC Enterprises, which was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Recall we've talked about those terms as well. And so the superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Trustees award the contract for the video projection and voice enhancement systems project phase 2. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Bosnowski. We'll start with Mr. Rogie.
Yes, hi. What's the projected life of each of these systems, the video and the voice, before replacement?
You know, I think when we if I recall correctly, when we first started the project, we were talking that because this new technology that Mr. Warner has put into action is bulbless technology, so these systems have a 10 or more year longer lifespan for the projectors, and the voice enhancement systems, it's basically a microphone speaker system. So I guess depending upon the amount of usage, could be substantially longer than that. I know that I have installed systems in other districts that are still functioning quite well, you know, upwards of 15 or more years later. So they have a good lifespan. Technology changes, and so by the time they are worn out, the technology will probably be new, and it'll perhaps be a one-on-one thing, one-to-one ratio thing for a student, you know, learning information. But I believe that the life expectancy of these systems would be more than 10 years, but probably closer to 15.
Are we buying any replacements? that would be in a stockpile, you know, like 5 or 6 replacements?
Yes, absolutely we are. We are including a percentage of attic stock, we call it, so on-the-shelf parts and replacement units.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. I don't believe we have any other comments or questions. There's an action item.
Mr. President, I move that we award the contract for the video production and voice enhancement systems project Phase 2.
Second.
We have a motion to support superintendent's recommendation by Mrs. Prusso, and that motion has been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Next item, please.
I think we're going to continue on with Mr. Bosanowski. Next
Thank
item.
you, Dr. Bowers. I'll move right along to the second contract for consideration this evening is the East Avenue Middle School renovation project, increment 1, interim housing. You'll recall that this is the project that the board rejected all bids last year for being over budget. We've done some resequencing of the scope. We've added some scope to the project and in fact have come in well within budget, and with the added scope is pretty much the same cost that we were looking at what we rejected last year. So just validation of the decision that was made, and the delay in the project was worthwhile for the dollars that we're saving. So this scope includes some underground utility work. It includes movement of the relocatable classrooms in the back of the campus from one area to another to make way for the new 2-story building that's going to be coming to that campus. And then also the installation of a relocatable classroom for a short period of time for interim housing at that campus. And then the portion that we're able to add when we resequenced and came back this year with the project is we are going to construct the building pad for the new building. So we've been able to add that entire scope into the project for pretty much the same prices we were looking at last year. That's increment 1. Increment 2 of this project, recall, is the 2-story classroom building itself. It is all but approved by DSA and will be ready to bid in the next few months. Future phases include increment 3, as we'll call it, which is admin and front classrooms renovation, moving into other spaces on the campus, the gymnasium, multi-purpose room, and things of that nature, with some modernization scope for those buildings as well, and that's part of the future planning that we're currently working on. So, like the previous project, we bid this project in the spring, the months of March and April. Again, received bids for the project on April 16th of this year. This project, we only received 1 bid, but as the saying goes, if it's the right bid, it's still a good bid. And so we have a contract in front of you for consideration this evening for $1,775,280 to Integra Construction Services Incorporated, and they are the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. So to that, then, the superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Trustees award the contract for the East Avenue Middle School renovation project, increment 1, interim housing.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Rogie.
I just have a general question. I just reading through the contract, and I just happened to catch a phrase. Do we have a policy or a guidance to buy American products?
The California Public Contract Code does not require that. Typically, American products is more of a federal project requirement, that, in my experience. So no.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Prusso.
Is this phase, when is this phase supposed to be complete? Is this over the summer for the?
Great question, Ms. Prusso. This particular phase at East Avenue will extend into the school year a little bit. There's one building, the new exercise classroom, which will not arrive on the campus until the first week in August. And then so we'll need to set it up and hook it up through the month of August and early September. So shortly into the school year, but
Okay.
it will go a little into the school year.
Right, thank you.
One additional point. Excuse me, Mrs. White. Mr. Wenzel?
Thank you. I noticed on this contract that there's basically fines for every day that they're late. How often does that happen? And is this happening? It doesn't seem to happen in all the bids and the contracts. Is this going to be something that we're going to do from now on?
So what you're seeing is the term liquidated damages.
Right.
And that is a standard clause in pretty much every construction contract that is executed by a public agency. It's a very standard item that should the contractor complete the project later than the end date of the contract, we have the right to charge them damages. It then gets into the legal piece of we have to prove damages. Reading that clause, you'll see that it is not punitive. It's just a fee, so to speak, for being late. Very, very rarely are liquidated damages charged. Very rarely. So I'm trying to recall. I don't know that I have ever charged liquidated damages in my career. I've reassigned and evaluated and used the contractor's money to finish the project, help them finish the project, but I don't think I've ever assessed liquidated damages. It gets into the legal realms of contract stuff that's not normally done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. White?
Are we ready for a motion?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation to award the contract for East Avenue Middle School renovation project, increment 1, interim housing, to Integra Construction Services Incorporated.
We have a motion by Mrs. White. I'll second. A motion by Mrs. White. I've seconded that motion. Support superintendent's recommendation. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
And last but certainly not least, we have the Livermore High School, increment 1.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. Moving right into this project, this final contract for your consideration this evening is for the Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Renovation Project, increment 1, which is the first portion, if you will, of the Measure J signature project of the Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics project. This project includes the demolition of the snack shack at Livermore High School, some utilities work, the building pad construction in the area of adjacent to the existing gymnasium. We've looked at that in plan in previous presentations, and then also some parking improvements. Project phasing is this increment 1 as we're reviewing this evening, and of course future increments would be the increment 2, which is the building itself. Now the new pool. The building is at DSA and it is about 50% through the review process. So it too is moving through quite well, and we anticipate that increment 2, the full building scope, will be ready to bid end of summer or first of fall. So here again, in the same process as we followed for the previous 2 bids, we went through the bidding process once we received the board approval to go out to bid, and 3 bids were received for this particular project on April 18th. Again, the bids were evaluated, reviewed, and consulted and discussed with legal counsel. Integra Construction Services, again, is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and their bid is $1,090,000 even. Once again, the superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Trustees award the contract for the Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Complex Project Increment 1.
Thank you, Mr. Bosnowski. I don't believe we have any discussion or questions, so I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for the contract for the Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Complex Project Increment 1 to Integra Construction Services Incorporated.
We have a motion by Mrs. White to support superintendent's recommendation, and that motion's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any discussion on that motion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mrs. Pruso?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Myself, aye. President Bueno.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
For our next items, Mr. Scott Vernoy will be coming forward. He is our Director of Student Services. And he has actually 6 board policies coming forward. Many of them are new policies related to our bond work, and I think one is a revised. Mr. Vernoy.
Thank you very much. President Bueno, Superintendent Bowers, member of the board, Ms. Bowers was correct. Tonight I bring to you six policies. 5 are new and 1 is a replacement. The first is Board Policy Administrative Regulations 3230, Federal Grant Funds. All these policies are being brought forward to align with practice and protocol, current practice and protocol of our policies. The same posting and same reading will occur at every one of the 6 policies. This is a new board policy administrative regulation. It has to do with federal grant funds. All grants awarded by federal grants or federal government are subject to requirements contained in the Office of Management and Budget. Our district is mandated to adopt written procedures related to procurement, conflict of interest, cash management, payments, and allowable costs. Significant additions will include responsible for maintaining physical integrity and transparency. Goods or services purchased with federal funds shall be reasonable in cost and necessary for the performance of administration of the program. Superintendent or designee shall develop and implement appropriate internal control processes, and the district shall submit performance reports as required by law and the awarding agency. The superintendent's recommendation is to approve the first reading from Board Policy Administrative Regulation Series 3000. I'd be glad to take questions at this time.
Thank you very much. I don't believe we have any questions or comments, so I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the new board policy 3230, and administrative regulations.
A second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White to support the superintendent's recommendation, and that has been seconded by Mrs. Pruso. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Myself, aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. Pruso?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, please.
So our next policy is Board Policy Administrative Regulations 3311 for bids. The same series of postings and readings. So this is a replacement Board Policy Administrative Regulation. Policy is being updated to reflect current laws and the district's participation in the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, or CUPCA, as known. So when leasing, purchasing, or contracting for equipment, materials, supplies, or services, the district, the board shall explore lawful opportunities to obtain the greatest possible value for its expenditure of public funds. And the superintendent or designee shall establish comprehensive bidding procedures for the district in accordance with the law. This is why I'm saying that we are putting this policy in to align with our current practice and protocol. Again, the superintendent's recommendation is to approve the first reading. I'd be glad to take any questions.
To confirm, this policy puts us in accordance with the law.
Yes.
Okay.
We are already in accordance with the law, but this policy will continue to give direction in accordance to the law.
And essentially what happened is when, we haven't had a bond for many, many years. And so when we started on the venture of having a bond, it came up through, as we were researching CBOC, which is our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, that they often can refer to policies, but we had not had any updated policies in place.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through and met with our legal attorney and they're all our legal counsel, and we made sure that all of our processes are correct, but we thought it would be good to codify that in policy. So CSBA gives you sample policies that are acceptable, and so it's just a way of codifying the completely legal and acceptable practice we're doing, but then that would be there for future reference and going forward. And then,
formalizing the codification.
right. And then if laws change, then we're just doing an addendum.
Yeah.
Or
Would
an
there be
adjustment.
any board objection to waiving the second reading?
No. The Board Policy Committee went over these in as much detail as I expect any of you did or will. And we seem to find that we need to be in compliance with the law. This gets us in compliance with the law. We've consulted experts about whether this does get us in compliance with the law. So we should move right ahead as swiftly as possible.
Yeah.
And if any public would like to speak to the matter, we'd be happy to listen to them. But allowing 20 minutes of a meeting to hear from public who probably won't speak is not a fruitful use of our time.
Well, I would just say that, we've heard it, it's been posted and it's been read.
Yeah, but
and-
that's the only thing that the two
I understand.
readings allows it to have happen is to
Yeah.
have interaction between times.
I take it as a non-controversial item, simply so we're complying with the letter of the law. So, it would be my motion to support superintendent's recommendation with the amendment that we waive the second reading and just be the final in approval.
Do you include the other ones, the other one we did
Excuse me?
about the board policy 3230? I guess that's new, but it still gets us in compliance with the law.
I think
We've already approved that for whatever.
But we're good with carrying over the federal grant one. It would be nice to expedite this policy, as well as the following four you will see are all administrative regulations that support this bid policy.
okay. So my recommendation would stand.
Yeah.
That's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So the motion is support superintendent's recommendation with the amendment that this be the final reading. That motion's, I made it, and it's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Clarify, just for this motion?
For this policy?
3311,
311.
Right.
Correct. All separate actions. Ms. Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Yes, Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. Pruso?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. And the motion carries 5-0. Next item, please, Mr. Benoit.
So here you will see the first of four administrative regulations. This is 3311.1, Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Procedures. Same posting and reading. So this is a new policy, Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Procedures. Policy is for use by districts that elect to use alternative procedures for awarding contracts for public works projects pursuant to The California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, CUPCA. The board has approved the district to become subject to the CUPCA on March 15, 2016. Some information about this policy: the board delegates the superintendent or designee to award any contract eligible for informal bidding procedures. No work, project, service, or purchase shall be split or separated into smaller work orders or projects for the purpose of evading legal requirements for competitive bidding. And project awarded through CUPCA shall be subject to cost accounting procedures. Again, this is the first reading, and the superintendent's recommendation is to approve.
Thank you. Again, I'd ask if there was any objection to waiving, just prior to making a motion. Okay. Then I'll make a motion in support of superintendent's recommendation amended that this be the final reading.
Second.
Yeah, need a second. Motion to support superintendent's recommendation amended this the final reading. That's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, if you call the roll.
Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Did you say this? Did you say this section 3311.1?
It's yes, this particular item.
I didn't hear it. Aye.
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye, it carried 5-0. No, these are separate action items, so we're dealing with them each.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we will continue that, the numeration. Administrative Regulation 3311.2, leaseback contracts. Same posting and reading. This is a new administrative regulations. Policy provides an alternative to a more traditional design bid build process or leaseback process, a process in which both the design and construction of a project are procured from a single entity. Any leaseback contract shall be awarded through a competitive best value procurement process. The proposer shall be pre-qualified in accordance to Public Contract Code. The request for sealed proposal shall identify all criteria and will consider in evaluating the proposals. The award of the contract shall be made by the Board of Education to a responsive proposer whose proposal is determined to be the best value to the district. Again, superintendent's recommendation is to approve this first reading. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Rogi.
Could we get a short definition of leaseback for clarification for the public?
I'll ask Mr. Bosnowski to join us with his expertise and knowledge, experience.
I've already made mine.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Rogi. The definition of leaseback is a two-step process, so to speak, where the district owns a piece of property. We then, by contract, lease that to an entity or vendor, we call them, the leaseback entity, for $1 a year. And during the time frame of the lease to the leaseback entity, they then are required to improve the property by building a school or building buildings on an existing school. Then they lease those facilities back to us over a term of time. When that lease time frame ends, the district then gets title to the improvements that were made, if that makes sense. You can liken it to a tenant improvement in a commercial building that then gets amortized over the life of the lease. Similar. If you're interested, the history of leaseback goes all the way back to just post-World War II, when the baby boom began and there was lots of districts, schools were expanding, kids were coming, where there was lots of land but not a lot of money. And so a builder would come in, or the laws were passed where the school district could lease the land to a builder. They would build the school, then lease it back to the school district for, again, a period of time, at which time when that lease expires or when those lease payments are completed, then the improvements would become the property of the school district. By way of specific example, both of our stadium projects from last year, much of the improvements for those projects were done under the leaseback contracting methodology, whereby the improvements are done, the construction is done, and we are now in the lease period. So we make monthly lease payments to that vendor who constructed those improvements for us, and then when that lease period ends, we will be the full owners of those improvements.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Bosnowski, perhaps we could, what is the normal period of time of that lease back?
The industry has changed over the past number of years. 10 years ago, there was not a lease period. It was pay full value of the construction, just like it was a construction project. And then that yielded some legal challenge to the process that then created further regulation and administrative policies to where there is specific court cases to where then legislation and courts, superior courts, determined that that lease needed to look like a rental lease, like a term lease. So typically what we're seeing these days is a 12-month lease period to pay back a substantial, or pay back a portion of the improvements. Now, that portion of the improvements that we end up paying back is equated to what would be a rental, a monthly rental payment for those improvements. In other words, we pay for the improvements along the way just as if it was a tenant improvement process within a commercial facilities, and then at the end of the construction, what remains is the value of what you would go pay rent in the commercial space for. So the laws have adjusted to liken it to creating a commercial tenant improvement and then amortizing it over the lease of the life of the lease, which is currently industry standard of anywhere from 12 months. I've seen some 2 years, but typically 12 months is what the industry is looking to do.
And it's simply a matter of convenience and smooth operation, but certainly not a matter of circumventing or bypassing any protocols or procedures that we would have as the person doing the purchase.
That's absolutely correct. And as Mr. Vinoy was describing, it creates a best value scenario for the district in lieu of the lowest bidder type of scenario. So it does allow us, the process does allow us to further qualify those vendors beyond the basic pre-qualification process that's part of public contract code.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Section 10.8, Series 3000, This is 3311.2. Do we want to do, this is the second reading, you want to
We can.
bring it back?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would.
I move that we approve it.
I would second that. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Yes, myself, I, Mr. Wenzel,
Aye.
Mrs. Pruso,
Aye.
Mrs. White,
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Mr. Bosnowski.
So our next policy is 3311.3, which is design build contracts. Same posting and reading. A new administrative regulation, design build contracts. Policy provides an alternative to a more traditional design bid build process or a lease-leaseback process. Process in which both the design and construction of a project is procured from a single entity. The Board of Education may approve a contract with a single entity for both design and construction of any school facility in excess of $1 million. Design build documents shall not include provisions for long-term project operations. The district shall prepare and issue a request for qualification in order to pre-qualify the design build entities whose proposal shall be evaluated for final selection. Superintendent's recommendation is to approve the first reading from Board Policy Administrative Regulations 3000.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. I don't believe we have any comments or questions, so I'd entertain a motion. Just one clarification, Mr. Benoit. On page 2 of that, the top slide says 3311.3, and then the bottom one says 3311.2. Is that just a typo?
That would be a typo. Correct. It's 3311.3. Are significant changes to this. Yes.
Okay.
And that's a typo on the PowerPoint, not on the actual.
Correct.
Correct. That's why I referenced the page number. So I'd make a motion to support superintendent's recommendation to approve 3311.3 first read.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. White,
Aye.
myself, I, Mr. Wenzel,
Aye.
Mrs. Pruso,
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Our last for tonight, Board Policy 3000. This is procurement of technology equipment, number 3311.4. Same posting and reading. A new administrative regulation, procurement of technology and equipment. Policy provides an alternative to competitive bidding procedures. Public Contract Code 20118.2 authorizes the issuance of a request for proposal for district procurement of electronic equipment and apparatus, with the contract being awarded to a proposal that is most beneficial to the district considering price and all other factors. So the district may use competitive negotiation when it makes a finding that the district procurement is for computer software, telecommunications equipment, microwave equipment, or other related electronic equipment and apparatus. Competitive negotiations shall not be used to contract for any product that is available in substantial quantities to the general public. Superintendent's recommendation is to approve this first reading as well.
Thank you. Is there any question? Mr. Rogie.
I need some definition or some clarity on that last one. That if there's, my understanding that from that is if there is a substantial quantity to the general public, we can't do negotiations?
1 second, I will check the policy.
Mr. Warner, you may have some input on this, I'm not sure, but I know that
I think that might be helpful if we could just get like a realistic, like an example of what we're looking to do. If Mr. Warner or this is technology, maybe just.
Or
give-
Mr. Bosnowski. They're both coming up. Let's have the whole team come up.
I would ask maybe we just kind of explain the spirit.
So the spirit of this particular part of the public contract code is to allow school districts to purchase in volume or technology program their standards as well. So by establishing our standard equipment, we're allowed to use this part of the public contract code. We are, in fact, employing this specific section of public contract code for the video and voice enhancement systems, where we're buying mass quantities of very specific technology through government-specific vendors that are not on-the-shelf Best Buy type available to the public in large quantity equipment. And so because the cost of the contract that we're doing with video and voice phase 1, phase 2, and then subsequently will be phase 3, is so very predominantly the equipment itself, with a very, very small portion of what's called incidental installation. This contract or this public contract code sections are allowed to be used by us to do that technology, equipment, and installation. And so we're using it currently for the video and voice.
I just have, okay, so using that same example, if the voice, all that technology is available at Best Buy in quantities, we can't competitively negotiate according to this item.
Our projects are for the purchase and then the subsequent incidental installation. And I don't know that Best Buy would be able to come install 200 classrooms for us, so to speak.
Okay.
What we're trying to say is that when we're procuring these items through normal government suppliers, GSA type stuff, that when we get it, it's coming with the incidental installation.
That's correct.
It's a package.
That's correct.
As
That's
opposed
correct.
to us, because there's probably some value in having it as a package, because the responsibility, people don't point their fingers and the contractor doesn't say, well, Best Buy failed on this. So is that the value that we're
Correct.
looking for?
And it allows us to utilize the district standard and specify that district standard. But then also, as you read further down this administrative regulation, it allows us to put in other factors into the evaluation process, where in our video and voice enhancement project, the review factors have been things like experience in this type of work. How many classrooms have you as the vendor installed? How many do you install on a annual basis? What is your track record with this particular type of equipment? And so we've added in those types of review factors, if you will, to put this administrative regulation or this section of the public contract code to use to the best interest of the district.
This is part of the Public Contract Code 20118.2. I don't have it with me tonight, but I'd be glad to get it to you before second reading. And it could define
I would appreciate that, because I keep coming back to, so I'm a vendor and I go to Best Buy and they've got a ton of these things on the shelves, and I'm going to buy it from them and I'm going to install it but according to this, it says that I can't because it's in substantial quantities to the general public, even though I, as a vendor, am going to do the installation and take responsibility.
So I would make the comment, and to Mr. Vinoy's thought is we can look at and
Yeah,
bring
I would
back
appreciate
the
that.
policy
So
in specific. Yeah.
It just seems like it would be costly for us in one end, and I don't know, I would like to some examples and stuff for the second reading. Thank you, though, for your information.
Thank you both. Any further questions? I'd entertain a motion. I'll make a motion to support superintendent's recommendation on 3311.4 first read. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to support superintendent's recommendation on this item has been made and seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Yes, Mrs. White? Aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Myself, aye. President Bueno.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
President Bueno, I move that we can move the consent calendar items.
We need to make pause for a moment and change the tape.
And I
Motion?
Yes, I move that we can move the consent. I move the consent calendar 11.2 through 11.9.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rogan to move all consent and seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Yes, myself, aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. That carries 5-0. Consent rezos. I believe there's several. Anyone want to remove any? I think there's a bunch of them. There's a lot. 40 of them or something.
89.
What's that?
I think it's 51 through 89.
Yeah, I think there's 40 of them or something.
President Bueno, I move that we approve the consent item resolutions 12.2, 12.3, and 12.4, 12.5 on the agenda, inclusive of all the numbers.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion to move all consent rezos by Mr. Rogi. It's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. I would just like to comment on the motion. I believe a lot of these we dealt with tonight. We were signing these, and it's meaningful that some of these folks are given a lot of service, and I'd like to thank them for their service on behalf of the board. It's a dedicated profession. There's a lot of passion in this, and it's a long road that people go through for the benefit of children, so I'd like to thank them. With that being said, any other discussion? Then Mr. Clerk, if you call the roll.
Yes, Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. But we didn't remove any for 13, so we're going to go to 14, and we'll start with Mrs. Prusso tonight.
Okay, so the last few weeks have been busy as we're all preparing for the end of the school year. And even though I missed some of the Kid Connection open houses, I was able to visit Croce and Arroyo Seco these last couple weeks. I just wanted to say thank you to all the Kid Connection teachers and for all of their dedication and their work into the program and the service that they provide for our students. I know that it's an important program, and I'm glad they were able to do the open houses this year. I think it was, in speaking with them, I think it was really helpful for the teachers to be able to come in and see what their students are doing, and probably have more recommendations for more students to come in. I think actually it would be a great program for all students if we could ever do that, which we won't be able to, but. And then also Croce Elementary had Ability Awareness Week, and I was able to go and read to one of the kindergarten classes there and watch the kids learn what it's like to have different levels of abilities. And in that same vein, I was also able to visit Sunflower Hill Gardens to watch the ranchers who are transitioning adults with special needs who work in the garden there as ranchers, and was happy to share their harvest as we ate green strawberries and radishes. And this was my first experience visiting there while there were ranchers there, and it was a wonderful experience. And this is an amazing program that provides skills to many adults with special needs across the whole East Bay, really, and not even outside of the Tri-Valley. So I think that's a great program that we have here in Livermore. And then this past week, I was able to attend the TV30's Outstanding High School Athletic Awards Show, where we had many of our students from Granada and Livermore who were honored. And last Friday, we celebrated the Tri-Valley Education Collaborative at Las Positas College. And again, this was my first experience with that program, and I was really impressed with the teachers and the administrators who worked together to offer our students unique and hands-on learning experiences in many different professions. And I'm excited to see that we have many students who benefit from that program. Also, we were able to experience Ag Day, and it was really fun to see the third graders there and all the animals and watch a cow being milked. It was very exciting, and the kids had a lot of fun. And then my favorite events in the last few weeks were some classroom visits at Livermore High School. I was able to visit Mr. Cabasino's class and arrange a Skype visit with author Catherine Purdy. And yesterday I was able to attend another author visit at Granada with author Julie Berry. It's kind of a reading nerd, so this was really exciting for me. But I was really impressed. The students were very polite. They had lots of good questions, and hopefully they went away a little bit inspired by these authors. And just a big appreciation to the teachers and the librarians who bring these authors to our district for these students to meet. I think it's really important for the students to get excited about reading and get excited about writing and see what's out there. So that's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso. We'll move to Mr. Wenzel.
Wait a minute, Harlem Wizards, was that, what happened? Didn't you play in that?
I forgot to mention about the Harlem Wizards, and I just wanted to point out, too, that I did play at Livermore High School, and the only reason I didn't score a lot of points, were because they asked me not to. The Harlem Wizards were like, please, please, we know you're good, just sit tight. So that was very exciting. Next year, hopefully, I'll make one basket. That's my hope.
But you did have signs. You had fans holding up signs.
Yes, I did have fans. I did have to pay my children to make signs and come and sit in the audience. They were not thrilled.
So the Harlem Wizards, we played at Granada, President Bueno and Superintendent Bowers, and I lost how many points she scored. There were so many, but it was another close game, but we didn't pull through. But it was a lot of fun watching the kids. It's exciting for them, and it's a great program. I attended the SARB Awards, Student Attendance Review Board Awards in Napa, beautiful place. That young man over there and his staff, Scott Vanoy, and that was a lot of fun. We had some off-site training Easter weekend, which was a good workshop. I hope that continues. I thought it was worthwhile. I went to Del Val School and was walking around, and I saw that in their new sewing class that they had started late in 18. And it was interesting, creative. Carly, boy, if I spell her name or pronounce it wrong, Widmere and Layla Weatherspoon. They started the program working with the students, and they received a $2,000 donation and working with the community. And some of the examples of what they make: senior lap blankets, chemo care bags, and dog collars for shelters. So I thought that was pretty impressive. So I thank them for their work. Today we went down to work day, and it was a very good meeting. And I don't want to, jinx it, but we're looking to improve emergency preparedness bag for every classroom in the district. 700. What was the number you gave her? 734, and looking tying it in, it was good timing, and they were very positive, nodded their head. So we're beyond that point now. So they come back and try to build it, and so that's pretty exciting. They want to do a partnership with other people in the community to build these bags. So that's pretty exciting. Next week I'll be in D.C. where I get to meet with a couple congressmen and probably get just to the office of Secretary of Education regarding federal funding of the IDEA program. I think the climate is right to present a letter from our SELPA and the Saramone SELPA stating that pretty sad that when you look at our numbers, we've probably spent over $100 million out of our pockets since the initiation of the IDEA program and of a promise that the federal government said they would pay. And it's probably well beyond $100 million over 40 years. So at least we'll present a letter. Congressman Swalwell, staff will be there. So we'll just see what happens. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. White.
Well, we all went to Wizards games, or some of us played. Kid Connection's been on high on many people's schedules. But I also hit Ag Day this year. I don't know how I missed it in the past, but I'm going to go next year. And the Tech Consortium presented an awesome program with students who were being successful in their pathways of medicine and firefighting, and what was the other one? One other pathway scheme. But it was interesting, you know, the theme of TEC is careers by choice, not by chance. And this one young man who had a lot of medical practitioners in his background was sure he wanted to be a doctor. And using the telepresence, he was able to see an actual autopsy that was happening in clear living color. And he walked out saying, I'm not going to be a doctor. So it was very useful for him. We also were able to see the Livermore Granada boosters speeches that the students gave. There were a dozen young men and women who gave remarkable speeches, and you just beam with pride that you had some small bit in helping them prepare for that. You all saw the results of my work on the policy committee. It was 6 policies, pretty good throughput for one afternoon. I also went to the intervention committee meeting where we learned a little bit about some software which would bring all the details about a student, his attendance, his grades, his expulsion, probably not his expulsion, but his referrals information would all be able to come together in one place so that the administrator who was helping him with his multi-tiered systems of support would know where to focus. It was quite interesting. Again, a telepresence Skyped in. The Del Val Performing Arts folks again provided outreach in the Livermore High School Band and the Christensen Orchestra. And we're grateful to the fine arts folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Mr. Rogie.
First off, I want to apologize. Mine's going to be a little bit longer than I'd like it to be. One suggestion, though, on the policies, if we could put the sub numbers on the policies as we look at them, because 10.6 through 10.11 all look like the same ones. So if we could put the sub numbers on there, I appreciate that, and I think everybody else would too. I attended the ROP meeting, as did Mrs. Prusso as a guest. We talked about the budget. We're in good standing with the budget. They went over the new classes. The curriculum, the middle school attendance is bumping up. Middle college. Yes, middle school is also doing well. Middle college attendance is being bumped up. I think Livermore holds the majority of those slots at this point. And we honored one of our health professional teachers for her great, anyway, she was honored. I lost my train of thought there. I attended the Croce Longevity Awards today with the new awards. They were much appreciated and liked. A lot of them, everybody who got one really did appreciate the fact that they were made by students, and made them look underneath the cups and whatever and saw that they were signed and dated, and they really did like that. I've been busy with EBAL league meets the last 2 weekends over in Dublin. Then this Saturday at Dublin again is NCS, and Livermore and Granada has a good team going there. I hope we all do well. I attended a little bit of the Wizards game. I didn't realize how short Superintendent Bowers was until she had to make that jump ball. She did well. Mrs. Prusso, I was going to play, but Mrs. Prusso bumped me out. said something about I can't shoot, can't jump, can't dribble, so I gave her my spot, and she did really well. I attended Ag Day, the latter part of it. It was very exciting to watch all the kids again, look at animals they haven't seen. I did, on a note, watch this sheep shearer and how quickly he can shear a sheep. But what I did notice is the back of his shirt, and it said Miles City, Montana, and I had to ask him because where you got that shirt, and he goes, well, I buy all my equipment in Miles City, Montana. This is the second time in my life I found Miles City, Montana, because I was born there. The first time was in Willy Wonka. One of the kids they went to Miles City, Montana for one of the golden tickets. So, I'm not a Californian, I admit to it, but I've lived here all my life except for 6 months. I went to the principal for the day at Altamont. The principal was surprised. She didn't know that the entire school was waiting for her to walk through that gate. And it was very heartwarming, and the kids just loved it, and she really loved it, and a lot of tears, and it was a really, really good day for them. Also attended the Rotary Music Scholarship last Sunday, where the students that were winning the scholarships, some of them played for everybody was there. It was a very well attended. We had scholarships all the way from 6th grade up to the seniors, and some of the musicians were all the musicians were just awesome. Also attended yesterday the alumni golf tournament for LHS. I didn't do well because of the smoke, the wind, the cold, the rattlesnakes, not hitting the ball well, and other little things. I'd also like to mention that the LHS Musical State Fair opens this weekend. I hope you can all attend. One of the other things I'd ask that the board consider that we have a work day or a workshop, talk about the Livermore Sports Complex. This is not any criticism of Mr. Bosnowski or the bond, but I am noticing some things are getting missed, and there was a lot of details. These are huge projects, and things are going to get missed, but I've realized that some of the people that have input don't always have the complete input, and so my suggestion is the board to go over the definitions of the listings, but also have some peer review by other school districts. My question is, did Granada look at Livermore's plans for their gym and their sports complex? They might have insights, and other schools that have had new sports complex, and I would like to see that throughout our projects in general. Have other sites look at specifics, and other schools, districts look at our specifics to see if we've missed something, so we're as complete as possible. And one of the reasons I bring this up is, okay, we've had some problems with a little more track, but then I find out that our scoreboard videos are not compliant or the same as the rest of our marquees that have been put in, so they're not modular, and so that means we have another type of system to deal with. And a horn was missed. You need a horn on a scoreboard to complete cycles of downs and whatever, or timing, and that was never put on the scoreboard. So it was an $800 cost they had to retrofit. So these kind of things, although they do get missed, I would like to see them get missed less. So this is why I'm asking the board to consider a workshop to more to be definitive, find out exactly what's out there, and to have other input from other people. And with that, I am done.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Mrs. White mentioned it. CSBA has a PACER that went out, and it's part of this whole full and fair funding. President Sorrell with LEA mentioned it during her remarks. That on, I think it's May 22nd. There's going to be a excuse me, a rally up in Sacramento regarding this. This is a big effort to get the state in sync and get funding for our children that is in sync with the budget and the product that we're producing out of this state. So I just wanted to thank, because one of the groups that came together, and this is a concerted effort, I mean, it's broad, but some people that opened up their wallets were Northern California Carpenters and the Sheet Metal 104 guys that represent 42 counties in this state, and the IBEW, Local 595. Lozano Smith, those people did a real good job. They were the primary people that came in and sponsored, and they're going to be making a concerted effort to help children get funding for education. So I wanted to thank them. The FFA Ag Day over at Livermore is always a great event. Mr. McNeely's central at the school, but just kind of a jewel in this community that a lot of people, if you know her, you love her, but a lot of people don't know her, and that's Sheila Fagliano. And she is just a great connection between the 4-H FFA kids and our educational process and the community. She is just like a conduit that's constantly pouring resources into those kids, and she is just the heart and soul of that whole deal over there. So thank you very much, Sheila. The Wizards thing, I have no athletic ability. Others may. Mrs. Prusso was a dominant person out there on the court. No, she was dominant out there. No, she was. I can't take anything away
I
from
played
her.
in both games and scored in both games.
I was about to get to the superintendent. It's not often that you see a superintendent swept off her feet, but I saw a superintendent swept off her feet right in the middle of a game. One of the big fellows out there just literally grabbed her and picked her up, and that was the jump ball. But that whole effort, that's just something that kind of took off in the community. And LVEF, I was there. Bill Dunlop used to sit on this board. All the good people in LVEF, their primary focus is children in this community. And you see a gym packed, both gyms. They're just full of people. Everyone's opening their wallet. Little kids are running up and down. The Wizards do a great job. It's a great community event. It's a great fundraiser. Everyone's winning. It's a good thing. And, I'm not good enough to go up and down that court and actually get sore, so I won too. We mentioned, it's been mentioned by some of my colleagues here that there was the Livermore Granada Boosters event, and it's for the Olympian Award winner, and they had like a luncheon. And that event comes out on May the 20th. That's when they have the awards banquet. And for those of you in the public that may not know how that kind of comes up, it is our top athletes that are also scholars that are in the community. There are 3 female and 3 males from each of the schools that are nominated for this award. They have to have a good GPA, they have to be an accomplished athlete, and then they receive the Olympian Award, and they're judged on their achievement. These people are extraordinarily accomplished. These are going to be your future leaders in the community, and I'm particularly fond of that event. And then just to close, just on a community sense, because this is Livermore, and I know Mr. Rogie loves those Cowboys, but this is a diverse community. We've got national laboratories, and we've got ag and rodeo. And somehow in this strange mix of high concentration of PhDs, we've come up with the world's fastest rodeo. So first weekend in June, 101st Rodeo at the Livermore Fairgrounds. And if anyone here, anyone in the school district, anyone in the community hasn't been to that, that is a great event. And I would suggest that you're there when it opens, because that ceremony with John Wayne and all that in the beginning is something that'll put a chill up your spine. So that's it for me.
Is the superintendent going to be writing this year?
Oh, no, I did the greenhorn contest one time, and that did not go over very well. Because my parents came to watch, and my dad said, "Oh, you must have won because you did something nobody else did. You put the cow there." And I said, "That's because that's the one place the cow wasn't supposed to go." So I didn't win the belt buckle, and they never invited me back. So.
Well, then I guess the athlete on the board should be writing.
Oh, there you go, Mrs. Prusso. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be fun. So, let's see. You guys covered a lot, so I'm not going to over-repeat things, but we had Youth and Government Day, and that was really fun. Our students shadowed the City of Livermore and LARPD leaders, followed by a Rotary luncheon, so shout out for the Rotary for sponsoring it. Our students were well-dressed, articulate. They participated in shadowing as well as mock council meetings, and we had 2 students shadow us from Livermore High and Granada here at our district office, so that was fun. My husband and I attended the 2nd annual Bollywood event at Livermore High School, and that was very entertaining. The food was great as well, and they brought in showcase talent from across the region. So I think that next year they're going to try to do it on a different weekend because it was the Easter holiday weekend, so not quite the turnout they expected, but everybody who came had an incredibly fun time. I also had the privilege of handing out Livermore High academic awards and block L's to very deserving and high achieving students. And the Culinary Academy made them very special treats as well. So we did attend the Sunflower Hill tour. So Trustee Bueno was there, Trustee Prusso, and I also was very impressed. And if we're looking at relocating possibly next year, our Ag Day, due to construction and things, we were thinking that Sunflower Hill and the Hageman Ranch there might be a perfect spot. It is pretty amazing. And even I guess it's a farrier, the person who shoes the horses, they even have a place in a blacksmith spot there. So that might be something that we'll be looking into. So we did play in the LVF Wizards game, but Mr. Rogie did cheer us on. Mrs. White cheered us on. And Morgan Rogie actually performed, and it was a preview. So she did the Star Spangled Banner at both games, and that's Trustee Rogie's daughter. But she also gave a preview then for our A's game. And that's coming up. The first one of the 4 series where our students are performing the Star Spangled Banner is this Saturday. So there are still a few tickets left in our special reserve section with discount prices and parking. I'm hoping more people will come and fill them. If you bring your mom or your grandma, then they get a special recognition as well. And it should be a lot of fun. Stomper came out to the LVF Wizards game as well. I saw a couple of photos of people enjoying that. So those will be great things. The Booster Olympian Luncheon was really impressive, the caliber of athletes and scholars and speeches. And just a reminder, on Monday, May 20th, the Livermore High Granada Boosters will hold the annual dinner and banquet, and it'll be featuring the Granada and Livermore High Rivals video. So hopefully people will come out to that. It's a great evening for a wonderful cause. This Saturday was very eventful. We had the Innovation Fair downtown, and it was very exciting, educational, cutting edge. The Science and Society were there. Mr. Biani spoke and represented. They had a keynote speaker, all kinds of robots and interesting inventions going on. And people came from all over the region to celebrate science. And then also we had Community Service Day. And 11 of our schools were beautified and spruced up along with other places throughout the city and the parks. Over 700 volunteers gave their many hours of their day on a very hot and warm Saturday to beautify. And it was, the original inspiration for that was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and now it's expanded beyond that to many others, but they were still had quite a showing. And then that evening we had the CSBA packed dinner reception in support of fair and full funding, so that was exciting. Rebecca Bauer-Kahan, the new,
Kahan.
She said RBK, we can call her RBK. She's our new assemblywoman, and she does get it. She understands the issues of fair and full funding. She's also a parent, and she lives in Orinda, and she actually commented that, you know, when she grew up, she would be able to see her teachers in the store and her teachers in the neighborhood, and now where she lives, there are very few teachers who can afford to live there, and she just thinks that's a travesty. And so she wants to work on fair and full funding as well as housing for workforce housing for teachers so that they can live in the communities where they serve students. And I thought that was very admirable, her stance. And then we also want to make sure that everyone knows that tomorrow we will be honoring our board, and our senior management will honor our educators, and it is the National Teacher Day, but we also take that opportunity to honor all of our employees. So tonight you passed a resolution that will be sent, once it's signed, to all of our employees, and they'll get a basket of freshly baked cookies with strawberries, courtesy of the Del Val Culinary Academy. And we also have a signed card, and I'll just read it to you. It has a quote from the Dalai Lama: "When educating the minds of our youth, we must not forget to educate their hearts." We are grateful for the work you do to impact the minds and hearts of our students. And that's from the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District governance team and management team, and we've signed it. So they'll receive that tomorrow, and all employees will get them in their workplaces at various sites and departments. And with that, I will conclude my report.
Thank you very much. And with that, we are going to adjourn at 22:42.